There's a darkness inside of me.
We share a certain history. This isn't like any other ghost face.
Let's play a game.
You know you're like the 10th guy to try this, right?
Please help me. Just don't
You got a problem here, guy?
You heard it up top. Things are getting spooky outside of Spooktober, because that's right. We're talking about one meta franchise you can't believe. That's right. It's Scream 6. Scream Takes Manhattan here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin Meeks, son of Randy.
Oh, all right. I was going to go with Mikey Loomis. I don't know. But maybe I'm not bad because of my genes. We'll find out.
And this is Ghost Jake Killa.
Oh.
Shout out Wu-Tang.
Yeah. Wu-Tang
up,
forever.
Wu-Tang?
You know, Ghostface Killer. I was telling Colin off pod, I don't think he's ever had a cameo in these movies, but he should. Ghostface Killer, just put him somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it makes
And
too much
my
sense,
response
especially
to that-
in Manhattan.
Wow. But my response to that, Mike, is that seems like something the scary movies would do.
Which I
I'm
didn't
not positive.
research. So it could have happened. He's standing next to Leslie Nielsen. Hey, that's Ghostface. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows
Yeah,
if that
would
happened?
be great.
That's right.
I hope it did. But we're talking Scream 6, you know, the latest Scream movie. We're also kind of going to be doing spoilers for this if you haven't seen it. And we're also going to be talking a little bit of the whole franchise, but also kind of Scream 5 or Scream 2022. Just should have called it Scream 5 because that's kind of the direct predecessor, and 6 is a direct sequel to that Scream, you know, preboot or whatever you want to call it. The requel. As
Legacy-quel.
Or Legacy-quel, a
That's
requel.
what
So
we're calling
correct.
it now, I guess. Yeah.
So heavier on 5 and
Requel.
6, but we will be referencing this series as a whole. And we've done an episode on this before, right, Colin?
We had a great guest, Alex Taylor. Go back and listen. Longtime Normie fans know, though, that again, this is one of our favorite franchises. We talked about in Spooktober. Get our histories there. I mentioned in that one, like I had never seen 2 all the way through, and like now, like I
That's
own all
crazy.
the Scream movies on like Blu-ray. Like I watch them all the fucking time. Like these are just so in my bones. How about you guys?
You know, they've...
Yeah.
I'll steal it from you. All right.
No, go ahead.
First of all, shout out again to
Stab
Alex
him
Taylor.
in the chest.
He's I wanted to say he's our red right-hand man when it comes to the Scream franchise.
That's
very
right.
knowledgeable. I had to make that joke. Secondly, it's March Madness with Scream going on right now, and they've really grown on me, these movies. The first one's obviously a classic, and even after doing that last episode and when I saw 5 and like I had to catch up on 4, like after kind of thinking about the series as a whole, it's so consistent. Like there's mid, but none of them are bad. Like there's bad Michael movies, there's bad Jason movies, there's no bad Scream movie, just some that are like below average. So it's a really strong franchise, and we'll get into thoughts about the most recent entry. But I like them a lot, Jacob. Sorry to stab you. Stu,
no
you can
worries.
take the knife. Don't go in too deep. Yeah.
It's you're right, they are consistent, and they are at least able to exist in the same universe where they're not like rebooting the universe 3 times in a row with like Jamie Lee Curtis coming back twice or whatever. And so like it feels like a consistent franchise that they all exist in the same universe, which is definitely impressive over, 20 years and 6 movies, right?
All the other franchises we talk about generally, have multiple timelines. Texas Chainsaw has at least 3. You know what I mean? There's 3 or 4 Halloween ones now. Yeah, so they have boom.
Multiple timelines, but more than that, just like you're saying, Mike, terrible films. We talked the Hellraisers on this podcast, where it's like you guys watch so many bad Hellraiser movies, but to like what you're saying about like it should have been called Scream 5. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to, while you guys are talking about legacy sequels, to say, that film is parroting Halloween, which is called Halloween. Jacob just said Jamie Lee Curtis comes back twice. Okay, they're talking about the second one there, that Halloween.
Yeah.
What would you call that? You can't call that anything else because, like, again, it's not Halloween
9 or whatever.
9 or exactly. It's
you
wouldn't call it like Halloween 3 again or something like that. So the Scream franchise does stand out in that, like, we're talking about the 6th one today, and I told my dad that like I was going to see the 6th Scream film. He said, "No way are there that many. There's just not a chance."
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it is interesting. You're talking about Scream 5 just being called Scream.
Yeah.
Even this one was Scream 6, but it was like Roman numerals at the were part of the M in the name. And then I even saw trailers on TV and they would just say Scream, like the
Sure.
announcer in the trailer. So literally this one's just called Scream 2, essentially.
Yeah,
Scream
yeah.
also.
We were big advocates of 5 Cream for Scream 5 stylization, right?
Yes.
5 Cream, also Wu-Tang.
Shout out to the Gorley and Russ horror podcast. They're big fans of Screams. Put the 5 at the end, make it look like an
Oh.
S.
I like that,
Sure,
actually.
yeah.
That's great.
That
would've
Easy.
worked.
And then you put IX at the end of that. Scream 6.
Yeah.
It done it. Yeah. Anyway,
But,
very
yeah,
underrated
I-
franchise, I feel, though. Like, really, when you think about the bad Hellraisers we've suffered through, Do Your Thing, Cuz, from Texas Chainsaw episodes, things like that.
Every Halloween, Mike. We did every Halloween on this podcast.
Every single
That's
one.
right.
So, yeah, I think let's just jump in and see how we feel about this latest entry. Its return to theaters, Scream, and kind of a little bit of franchise as a whole. But yeah, this latest entry, where does it rank? How does it stack up against the classic and the rest of the movies that aren't bad in this franchise, right? So let's take a stab at tackling this most vicious ghost face of all. Is Scream Takes Manhattan, coming up next on Normies Like Us.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, and we're in a bodega with a shotgun in a guy's mouth. Very typical ghost face behavior, because of course we're talking Scream 6 here on Normies Like Us. Let's talk about how we got there. We've got a Scream podcast. Go back and listen. That sets up all the good Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson stuff. You kind of get all of our take on 90s and the evolution of all that stuff. Let's get up here and say, I don't know if we talked too much about Scream 4. We'll get into that on this one. But we're basically talking about a direct sequel here with characters set up in Scream 5 of a film directed by the team called Radio Silence, who are these very cool, interesting horror directors who did a film called Ready or Not. Did you guys see that?
Yes, I did, and I was a big fan of that film. So when they announced back when before Scream 5 that these directors were going to be doing it, I was pretty excited because I was like, well, I liked Ready or Not, so I had positive things to say about them before. Yeah.
Hey, did you see that, Mike?
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, I have not seen Ready or Not. So if I was on a phone call with a specific trivia question to save one of my fellow hosts regarding that horror movie, I would fail you miserably, and I'm sorry. You'd be kind of like Steve.
It's a really good movie. I definitely suggest
recommend
checking that out if it's on streaming or something. And it stars Samara Weaving, who is in Scream 6 in the beginning. Hugo Weaving's daughter, and Margot Robbie look-alike, but
clone number
very good
3
actress. Yeah, and she's in the beginning of this movie.
Cool.
Cameo.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll just check that out. I think having no experience with these guys or this group here. Sorry if I got that wrong, because I have no knowledge of this creative team. But I really enjoyed, especially. I watched Scream 6 in the theater, and then I went back and rewatched 5. I watched it when it came out, but I really appreciated what they were doing, kind of as this almost double feature. So we'll get into it more, but I really like Scream 5 for what it's doing as a Lego sequel, and it's doing its own meta thing. And I think Scream 5 is pretty high up maybe in my rankings. I enjoyed it a lot. So that's where I'm at with how I feel about that movie.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I liked 5 when I first watched it. And with 4, not to get into 4 too much, but 4 was all about sort of remakes, and it came out in 2011, so it was talking about sort of what was popular in the 2000s, with every classic horror franchise getting remade. Like you said, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, all those different ones.
Hayden Panettiere has that scene listing all of them. There's like 34 that she
the greatest scene of all time.
I love that. Yeah.
Whereas 5 is talking about this new sort of trend in the 2010s and 2020s of the Lego sequel, the requel, whatever you want to call it. And 5 is even more touching on, where it's still within the same universe, but it's like it's usually the child of a main character from the original or something. And it's even more than horror. It's talking about Star Wars. Episode 8, The Last Jedi, is a big part of the commentary of 5, and I'm excited to talk about that. But it's all about
that's great.
I mean, the whole, the villain's motive, to get into spoiler. Obviously, we're going to be spoiling Scream 5 and 6 in this
Yep.
episode.
And
Heads
Scream
up
in
there.
general.
Yeah.
But the whole, the whole motive of the killers in 5 is to fix the canon of, the Stab franchise, or the Scream, real life
And
events
universe.
of the Scream, movies. Just like there were, petitions online of, angry fanboys wanting to change, fix Star Wars and that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I really like 5. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Me too, and because we're always thinking about that, and the idea that you can't just reboot something because it has to be tied to the original, right? We need some legacy characters to do that transition to the new group and stuff. And then Richie's, he's saying too, like, this, how is any fandom toxic? He's saying, like, it's out of love.
Right.
I love this thing, and if you change it, I get upset. It's very
A lot of people
obviously
were mad
meta and
about-
self-aware.
Yeah. They subverted your
Richie.
expectations, and
Mhm.
I didn't like it. And even down to the parallels of Dewey dying in 5, the Han Solo moment of him being killed, a legacy character. It's really,
in the same way. I know what I have to, like, right in the stomach, right? It's the same.
Literally
move.
held up by a impaling, essentially, as well.
Yeah. So I thought that was a clever way to get back into the Scream franchise. And then when you go to 6, my general thoughts on it right now are sort of less positive, because with each Scream sequel, it seems to be talking about something specific. And then 6, it's a continuation of the story of 5, but it's a little more abstract of what they're actually sort of commenting on within the horror genre.
I guess we'll have to unpack that as we get through
Yes.
this conversation. But Colin, what are your
Yes.
thoughts on 5 before I do kind of want to briefly run down the key things that people need to know? Obviously we have Sam and Tara, the new characters that are going to carry on into
We're going to be
6.
talking about the Carpenter sisters.
Yeah, we need to set that
Again,
up.
we are legally obligated to talk about Jenna Ortega on this podcast, as I am the president of her fan club, of course. Very
Right.
appropriate. I think famously told this on post our Scream episode, because 5 had not come out. I believe that was in celebration or anticipation of the movie coming out. But on a Whatcha, I believe I regaled you guys with the tale of me seeing 5, my first time ever in a 4DX theater, where, motion controlled, feeling like I was being thrown out of it. You felt like you were fighting for your life against Ghostface. And we'll talk about our viewing experience this time. But needless to say,
boy.
maybe I haven't had the greatest first viewings with these films.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Unfortunately, am not a huge fan of 5. I think I love us talking now and doing like a genuine exploration. It's kind of really opening up my mind to really showcase that 4 and 5 are talking about 2 different reboot kind of things. That's helping the argument that I like 5 better, but I can't help but feel like 4 accomplished everything better that 5 attempts to pull off.
That's
Interesting.
definitely an argument that I can see. And I kind of see 4 and 5 almost as companion pieces, whereas it's not exactly redoing what 4 did, but it's putting its own like 2010 spin on it, where they're each talking about like a different era of the horror genre, I guess is my thesis statement.
And I'll briefly touch on 4 because there's a character from 4 returning, but the Nev Campbell's sister, what's her name again? There's so many Scream.
Who
Campbell's
knows?
cousin.
Jill
her cousin.
Roberts, you mean, played by
Oh
Emma
yeah, I was
Roberts?
gonna say, if you told me what Jill's mom's name was, I was gonna be shocked.
So her cousin has this whole thing too, where it's like in this era, you don't have to do anything to be famous; you just need to be sensationalized. And she's doing like a self-harm act to get attention
and that was in
and
2011.
fame. Like that's a social
And I think
commentary.
that was ahead of its time too.
Yeah,
with talking about social media and all that stuff too. Like
doing dangerous
she has
things
a great
to
line
get
in that where she
famous.
says, "Friends, I don't need friends. I need fans." And I think that's like the thesis
I need
statement
followers,
of that movie.
Jake.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So in a way, they're all doing something clever. It just does it resonate with you? I think they're all trying to do something. So if it lands for you, great. I think 5 lands for me. I think it lands for Jacob a little more than it does for you, Colin, but I think that's fine.
Let's introduce the characters, because
Correct.
I have one last big bone to pick with what 5 introduces to this new franchise. So you have the young Carpenter sisters. We won't talk about the first one too much, Tara, the young sister, because in this first film, she's not exactly a major character.
No.
Interesting, super cool twist to the franchise. She is our opening Ghostface victim, and she is not killed, gentlemen.
Subverting
first.
your expectations.
Series first, yeah. which is awesome. So I
And-
like that. That scene is very effective too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Incredibly cool.
And she
there's
even
Drew
starts
Barrymore and
talking
then 5
about
for me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and when he asks like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" she starts talking about like elevated
Babadook.
horror with like, Hereditary and Babadook and all
She
that.
likes
It's
the
just like,
Babadook a lot.
yeah,
I can't remember in the opening of 4, but do they also reference the Stab films, Jacob, or is that something that 5 is kind
Yes.
of pulling out in a fun way? Oh,
No,
okay.
they talk a
Well,
lot about the
man,
Stab films in 4.
4
too, 'cause
has
the
like
opening
2
of
cold
4
opens.
is
Yeah,
super
is the
cool and
Stab.
meta.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
One
Yeah,
of
like
the best
Kirsten
openings,
Bell
I think.
killing somebody. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Yes.
3 layers deep. Yeah.
And then they have a whole Stab-a-thon, which that's like a
Ah.
Stab movie marathon that they're watching. And
There's
stuff.
also a guy live streaming to the internet, which was very ahead of his time in that
It-
as well.
Surely they're watching one of these like silver-faced flamethrower ghost face
Yes.
stab
Well, I mentioned
movies
in
that
4
Stab-a-thon, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Time travel was in Stab 5. And then now in 5, they're talking about, oh, Ryan Johnson directed one of the Stab movies, and it's like totally
Yeah.
different and stuff. And it's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is wild.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you want the
Robert
Knives Out guy to do a
Rodriguez
Stab movie.
Canonically directed Stab in universe. Stab.
Oh,
1.
is that true? That's so perfect. Of course, because
Wow.
the faculty connection. That's amazing.
That's cool. That's cool. But so
Cool
yeah, we
fun
have
fact.
Samantha, right? And
Sam Carpenter.
We learned that she's the sister of Tara, who's our first person who doesn't get stabbed, and then that's a vehicle to lure Sam back to Woodsboro. She's kind of been estranged from her sister and her family because she found out
Yeah.
her father is Billy Loomis, and she is worried
That's
about,
right.
do I have that inside
So
me? And
she's
she
having
separates herself. Yeah.
psychotic episodes where she's seeing visions of Billy
Yes.
Loomis,
So
telling her to kill people.
here's my
Mhm.
issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in my Scream franchise, which is always hyper realistic, despite the fact that people like to point out Ghostface is always invincible. He gains, 2 feet every time he puts on the mask. How does Jill Roberts all of a sudden,
Right.
lifting people up and stabbing them with a knife?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Those are the conventions of the horror movie, quote unquote. This is Dexter. I don't need and Mike, the legacy connection for the legacy sequel, if she's Billy Loomis's kid, that's dope. Let's move with that. That's cool. If she's psychotic, if she's fighting off these urges, that's awesome. Literally seeing Skeet come in and be like, hey guys, I'm like young and sexy. That is like fan service to the max that
Right.
does not work for me at all.
Skeet Ulrich, they're probably using some de-aging on him to.
Well,
Well, they put him in a lot of
not in 6,
reflections.
they aren't.
Well, but again, if I may argue for it,
Yeah. Please.
in universe, it could be a mechanism of her own mind projecting his face on. It could be all bullshit, but it gets him a
She's
check
truly
too.
having a psychotic break in the
Yes.
context of the movie. Yeah.
So he's
Well,
a
and the question
metaphor.
is, like,
That's how I
so,
look at it. I don't think he's
certain
actually
things-
speaking.
Right. Certain mental problems can be hereditary, right? So they're suggesting like he had psychotic problems, so now she's inheriting some of that. So she even sees a therapist in the beginning of 6, right? And
Mhm.
so she's definitely has some mental health issues.
Yeah, so we could set that up and kind of, I guess, breeze forward through 5. Basically, so Tara's the bait. They're half sisters because Tara's father is not Billy Loomis. They share the same mother, so they're half sisters. She comes back to Woodsboro, and the whole chain of events goes off, which we'll find out. Spoiler. It's her boyfriend, much very
Tara's group
similar
of
to Scream
friends.
1.
What do they? Can I pause you guys real quick?
Yeah.
What do they say? And I swear to God, I just did rewatch all these too, but I cannot remember. What do they say? Because of course, the thrust of the first film is Billy Loomis wants to lose his virginity to Neve Campbell. Who is Sam's mother? He has sex and he just lies to Neve Campbell. Do they
Just
say?
a different, different person that he had sex
But
with.
a
So-
classmate.
We
I
don't
don't know if they
know
really
the
explain it.
origin. I tried to look up a family tree because it's getting confusing, and we'll get into
Yes,
that.
and then of course you also have Tara's friends who are Randy Meeks's niece and nephew or something, right?
And they're
Randy
all
Meeks
the
is their
same
uncle.
age. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yep.
another one of their friends is Deputy Judy from 4's son.
Right.
Yeah,
she
of
must
course.
have just popped a kid out immediately because she was,
because that was
that's
only like
insane.
10, 11 years before. She didn't, maybe she had a young kid in 4.
Oh,
I
I
think it's
guess
implied
so,
that
yeah.
Sam was a babysitter for her child. Like it could be happening during that
Okay,
timeline.
yeah.
Oh, of course.
So when she's running around
of
on 4, Sam's a
course.
babysitter. Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
this, guys.
that
I
makes
love how
sense.
tight
So
this
the
is
web
starting to
is
feel. This is
webbing.
good.
And she went
be-
to school with
yeah.
Neve Campbell because she talks about that in 4. She's like, "Oh, do you
She-
remember me?"
No, Doug.
Yeah.
She says in 6, Kirby was a senior when I was a freshman. That I was like, what?
Wait, Sidney
Yeah.
Prescott? Oh, I did not remember that.
Fucking Sam Carpenter.
Oh.
So think about that.
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
That makes
Wow.
sense then. So Sam Carpenter would know about Jim and everything that
I
happened.
guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of this is a twisted web we weave. We make fun of Star Wars because it has to be about the Skywalker family, but this franchise
Right.
is very much everybody's related
it's
to
Jacob
Jacob
said
said
everybody.
Star
right?
Wars. Yeah,
It
Jacob
is.
said
It is Star
Hey,
Wars.
literally, it's about The Last Jedi. Scream 5.
Yeah, and we have now Darth Vader's granddaughter, Sam. Like, hey,
Yeah.
what, do I be evil or not?
Exactly. The Ray of Scream. Yeah.
But yeah, all the things kick off. Obviously, Sam and Tara are able to survive. We do lose Dewey, unfortunately. Gail and Sydney help out, obviously, in that. But then we survive an ordeal in 5, and that a couple of years later, we're going to move to New York. Tara's going to college. Sam gets a job over there because she wants to, be near her to keep an eye on her after all they've been through. And here we are,
There are
Scream
two friends
6.
who are Randy Meeks's relatives survived. They're
Mindy
the
and
core
Chad.
4, right?
Mindy and Chad are now the core
favorite
4.
characters.
Let's do it.
They
Core 4,
lost
yeah.
both of their partners, I guess, in the prior
One of
film.
them was a
Right.
murderer. Well, it wasn't a partner. Their other
Specifically-
friend.
Well, their friend was a murderer,
Yes.
right?
But specifically to set up, and again, huge spoilers for all these movies. In 5, Sam's partner, Richie, is revealed to be this nefarious guy who has sort of masterminded these killings
Toxic
to
fanboy.
make her look crazy because he does not like how the films are being made. Now,
Mhm.
a central plot to kick off the start of this film is Sam is being targeted in a way that we see a lot of women, but also people involved in these true crime worlds. You could say a thousand things about the Amber Heard case, but where
Mhm.
literally people online decide one side of a story and you sort of just get targeted because of that, and it's just that's your life now.
And that's
this
a
film
big part of
comments on an
this.
interesting way on this. Yes,
That
and
is
it's
a really
huge
interesting
plot.
angle of 6 that I did like, because that is something that it's an internet phenomenon that does happen, I think, like you said, with Amber Heard, or plenty of other, even if you're talking about just movies like Brie Larson being talked about in a million YouTube videos, and the
Right.
MCU and all that stuff.
Oh
So,
my god.
Yeah, so we're bringing back continuing the Star Wars metaphor, so to speak, the toxic fandom metaphor, but it's also the media and how they'll spin something and people will just decide, doesn't
Make up
matter, the facts
conspiracy
don't
theories
matter,
and stuff.
right? We're in a
Yes.
post-facts world. I always say that. They're dealing with that,
Exactly.
and then they're also piling on the media, they give Gail a hard time. Hey, write another book, did you exploit this tragedy? This kind of theme runs through these. So it's a little bit about that stuff too. Like, are we exploiting tragedy for our own career gains? Gail's
Yeah.
been accused of that, things like that.
And Gail and Sydney have kind of gone back and forth in their relationship of, like, they're friends, but like Gail will sell out the story to make some money, and Sydney doesn't
Yes.
like that, and so they have a complicated relationship, which is sort of explored in this one too.
The
Or in
films are always
Mhm.
about how do, and I love this specifically, women again, deal with trauma. You have the two sides of what Jacob just said perfectly. Sydney Prescott very often goes into hiding. She puts her life away. Yes, she wrote a book about this material too, but it's a self-help book about how to move on. Then you've got the exploitative side. You've got Gail Weathers,
Mhm.
who will say, how do I overcome my trauma? I talk about it every second of my life. And that's sort of like the combating sides of this whole franchise. And you get that now in Two Young Sisters, Tara being like, fuck all this. I'm not going to talk to anybody about this. I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to be known as the Scream 5 girl. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
Right.
known as Wednesday. You can't put me in a box. Like,
No,
I'm
no.
a big star.
I'm a boom operator, damn it, on a low budget porn movie. That's my
But then you
calling.
have-
That's right, Mike.
But you
Yeah.
have Sam Carpenter, who
Yes.
pretty much wants to get out of town and doesn't want, Gail is like in 6, at least Gail is like pushing her to like work together
Yes.
to like figure this out. And the Carpenters are like, no, we just want to get out of here. Like, we don't want to be
Yes.
involved. We don't want to figure out who the killers are. We just want to get away.
Mhm.
Well, you get a shot, Jacob, that the Scream franchise loves, but of course, this is how we show the trauma of Sam: closing a door and locking 5 locks.
Yeah, a subtle
Right.
thing. I got 5 deadbolts in my home.
Leave me alone.
Very
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween reboot, right?
Yes.
Obviously,
Yeah.
they even moved from Woodsboro to New York City to try to get away from what happened. So obviously, they're trying to move on. with
And
their life.
Woodsboro is in California. So we're kind of doing the
Is it?
reverse of an
Yes,
H2O.
it's
Never thought
revealed.
about that.
Yes,
Because you can drive
in
from Modesto to
5.
Woodsboro. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, their whole and like Tara's whole thing is that she just wants to live a normal college life, doesn't want to be weighed down by the memories, the traumatic memories that happen to her and stuff. They're all trying to move on with their lives, right?
And at this point, they have both had to kill somebody for survival.
Oh my God.
Sam had to kill Richie, and then Tara had to kill the other accomplice,
Amber.
just to survive. So Amber. So they both have a trauma of taking a life to survive. Sydney's gone through that arc as well, like just to survive, right? So Sam's deal is, I have this guilt. Am I like my father? Am I a murderer at heart? So that's what she's
It's also,
harboring.
like,
So she's
kind of
closed
hinted-
off. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of hinted like, do I like this? And like, is this something that comes
She
natural
says
to me?
it
Because
felt
my
good killing Richie
Yeah.
because it's like he deserved
Right.
it. Yeah.
which again is getting into that Dexter thing of like,
Mm.
sometimes you just need to be a serial killer, but if you're a good person otherwise or whatever. That's what
Well, we'll
Dexter
talk
is.
about
Which-
literally.
we'll talk
the
about that
ending of
later,
this film.
so-
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm loving all this. This is so delicious.
But this is our
I
mystery.
want to
yeah.
go just a bit beat by beat because I would regret so much if we didn't actually just like talk about it. Now, again, I was with Jacob when we saw this. Mike,
Oh,
what did
boy.
you think of the intro to this? The opening kill, of course, the most famous things about Scream franchise.
Yes.
They always have good intros, right?
Okay, everyone. Again, spoilers for all
Yes.
of Scream, all of it. 6,
Yeah,
all
all
of
of
it. So this one, we open with Samara Weaving. She's trying to do a blind date thing. She's in a yellow
She's
dress.
a college film professor
who
She just
teaches about
escaped from her
slashers.
own wedding.
Mhm,
from
right.
Australia.
Yeah.
Um,
In New York, trying to start. Like, she's only been there a few months in the city. The building has a red front. Anyway, it's a guy she's never met. It's a blind date. And he starts out nice on the phone. Hey, I'm lost. And he lures her into this alley. And it's typical horror setup. And then she gets jumped and killed by Ghostface.
Scream mask.
Scream
killed.
mask and everything.
The big
Only-
twist. Go
He
ahead.
reveals himself for the first time ever. Jacob, take it from there.
Takes off the mask.
Whoa.
And big twist, it's Tony Revolori.
Flash Thompson.
Did
Thompson.
you guys notice the voice right away? Since we've been I've forced us to be so Willow obsessed on this podcast.
I did
Mhm.
not. I did not even know.
Oh,
I didn't notice
was
it right
like,
away.
that
It
is
was a big
Tony.
surprise.
I knew it
Yeah.
right away.
Called it. That's Willow's boyfriend.
And
so
that's
this is a
great.
big deal. And I thought, how crazy is this? We're going to do
Yeah, we
a
see him
movie
take
where it's
off the
not a
mask.
whodunit. We know who
Yeah.
he is from the beginning. Colin, what did you think when you saw that?
I was completely shocked.
I was in.
Of, like you're just saying, blows the top off the franchise. You're going like, this is the coolest way to start this thing. I said it before. I think the topper of 5 was the opening scene, keeping someone alive, making it like the fight, using the locks and stuff. That's cool. That's modern. I was like, this is great. This is so.
He
inventive.
talks about
This
cloning a
I'm like-
phone, which explains how he could do the locks. Great.
But
for
this
this.
6, I'm like, this is the greatest idea ever. And to literally honor the franchise further, to get the tilted down, sort of like upshot, he slashes at the camera to not cut to the Scream logo as every other film has done. And you stay on
Hear
him,
his breathing, and he just takes off the mask.
takes off, and he goes on his little journey. And you're like, fuck, we are in this for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he kills her in the alley, goes home. You find out.
When he's,
Yeah.
I just want to talk about the effectiveness of when he's walking through the camp. He's just like, "Hey, finger guns! Hey, we're gonna see you at the party," and it's like
Yeah, he
he's
runs
acting
in,
so
bumps
normal.
into
Jenna Ortega.
on
Yeah,
the star of our movie. We're shocked. We know this guy knows our leads. Horrifying, yes, very effective.
this is where it's going, and he's just acting like nothing happened. It's like, what a psychopath, right? You're like, this is gonna be interesting. We know who Ghostface is. Jacob, take it from there.
That's right. He goes home. You find out, he's like a stab fanatic. He's got the shrine of everything of the franchise all over. You find out him and his roommate have been planning this whole thing. They're going to kill the Carpenter sisters and do all this. And then what exactly happens? He gets
Do they
called.
say
He gets a
tonight that
call.
they're going to do it at the frat party that she's going to?
I don't think it's
I think
tonight
he-
at the frat party,
Ah,
but
I
he
was gonna
was
say,
trying to
'cause
get
they
Sam to
fucking
show
barely
up.
Miss it then.
And they had
Yeah.
that whole theater set up with like they were doing that right before the other
Yes,
people took over. But
he
with
gets a
the
phone
shrine.
call, and it's fucking Ghostface, and he says to the voice, "We promised we would never do the voice to each other."
So he
Mhm.
thinks it's his roommate who's planning to do these killings with. Some stuff happens. He opens the fridge. What does he see in the fridge? It's his roommate's dead
The
body.
fucking
Yeah.
roommate.
He gets attacked by Ghostface, and then I think what does he say? He says like, "What about the movies or whatever?" And then Ghostface says, "Who gives a fuck about movies?" and kills him. and that's
then
the screen
Then we
logo.
get the cutaway. Yes.
Yes.
And we're just like,
Great
"Ah!"
beginning.
Great intro. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
this is where I will reveal our viewing experience.
Oh,
So
I was still
Jacob
trying
and I,
to come to terms
Yeah,
with
now.
our
Yeah.
surroundings when this is happening.
Jacob and I saw
Uh,
this together. We saw it at a matinee, usual theater we
Yes.
go to. We love it. It's our favorite place. We see 1,000 movies together. Now, God help us, for some reason this time, I think it was a slumber party or some sort of like day trip or something. But
Yeah.
I
It
want to
was
say 30, maybe 25.
30, it was like a whole row behind,
An
directly
entire
behind
row,
us.
yes, of 12-year-old
Right behind you.
girls
Yes.
in pajamas, wrapped in blankets.
This is gonna sound very like, "Hey kids, get off our lawn," but
No. How
it was
dare
a
you?
particularly bad.
It is full on
We needed a
TikTok
chaperone?
generation madness. They were watching TikToks, turning their flashlights on, sitting on each other, showing each other stuff, commenting
Talking
on the
like no one else
screen.
was in the theaters,
And
shining lights
everyone
during the
around
movie.
them was saying, "Shut the fuck up," and it meant
Yeah.
nothing.
No parent. Well, if the parents were there
Wow.
or any guardians, they were
Shameless.
not disciplining.
No,
And
they
first of
just
all,
completely shut. It was an
Scream is
R-rated movie.
the
Yeah.
kind of movie that preteens should really be going to in theaters. So I say, where's the parents? But obviously, we're getting to the point where we're saying, "Hey kids,
Yeah.
get off our lawn." But I say it was in terms of bad theater experience, it was a particularly bad one.
It was maybe the worst I've ever been to. So keep in mind, as we're talking about this movie, every 5 minutes, I or someone else around me is turning around to say, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe you didn't like, maybe if you watched it normally, you might actually like it more.
Interesting.
You're
idea.
just
Where,
heated
like
the
a
whole time.
Doja Cat song started, they were all singing along to it.
I'm so
It was
sorry.
madness.
That's horrible. Well,
It really
where's the
made me hate
parents?
Gen Z or Gen
Yeah.
Alpha or
They
whatever.
could not. They just could
generation they were
not
part
pay
of.
attention to the film. But Mike, can I tell you something?
Yes.
Do you know? Do you know who they absolutely adored more than anything or anyone else?
Chad.
Chad.
Yes.
They love
They
Chad.
loved
Jacob, I'm
Chad.
so glad you noticed too. Every time Chad was on the screen, they'd be like, "There's Chad. That's
There's Chad."
Chad." All of them at once would be like, "Chad."
And when
The
they
first
said
time you
Chad
see him, he's
survived, they're like,
shirtless
"Yes,
and he's all
Chad
jacked
didn't die."
too.
Yes,
I
I knew
know.
it. At one point, they said, "I ship it." They just kept saying it at screen when
I ship it.
Chad and Tara were
And
together.
Jenna
They'd say, "I
Ortega.
ship it. I absolutely ship
All the
it."
time.
Because
They're
if you remember in Scream
they're live
5,
shipping.
he had a different girlfriend that was part of the
She
friend
gets
group.
killed.
Yeah. So now they're doing this relationship with him and Tara.
He also
Wild.
mysteriously survived 5. I don't know how. Like they don't pick
Him and his sister were both injured, but they both survived.
They are
their
impervious
injuries.
now.
They're the
But you don't
core
get him with a
four.
blanket sitting by an ambulance in 5. So it was like, wait a minute, because I watched that
Right.
today. I'm like, okay, but anyway, Chad. They like Chad. Fantastic.
They liked Chad, Mike. Can you believe that?
They
So
love
how
Chad.
do we? Let's get into it now. Again, we're talking. So we're
Well,
past
can
the
I
opening
share
scene.
my theater experience?
We're back into. Oh, please! Oh my
Briefly.
God!
Sorry. And you said, Jacob, where's the parents? That's the theme of Scream 2,
Right. Where's the
Uh,
parents?
And also, with them acting like that, it made me think of Scary Movie 2, where people commenting in a theater didn't
Yeah.
kind of get out. I'm not advocating for violence.
It
against
should have
children.
happened. That's all I'm gonna say.
Remember the
Something
opening of
needed to
Scream
happen.
2?
Yes, they should have been
Bunch of
Scream
rowdy
2.
people in
Exactly.
theater.
But
Yeah.
luckily, I did not have a terrible experience. There was a lot of talking beforehand, very loud talking, people doing the trailer thing. Lame, I'd love to put my joke out there,
Sure.
That was happening. I'm like, oh no. And then a group of teens sat right in front of me, like the two
Oh,
rows up.
man.
And I heard your story and I'm like,
Goddamn
oh, no.
teens these days.
It's
man.
going to happen. Luckily, once the movie started, everyone shut up. But I did have one guy at one point, 2/3 of the way, walk out of the theater. And as he's going out, he just yelled the finale. He just yelled the solution and
What?
left.
But how did he know it? Unless that
Maybe
was
he
his
saw it,
second
maybe he
time
looked it
watching
up, or he was guessing and he was right.
Seriously?
So I had one
That's
Dude,
dickhead
that
who
fucking
spoiled the ending.
sucks, dude.
I didn't
Wow,
believe him,
that
and we'll
does
get
suck.
into it when we get there. But I was like, maybe he's just bullshitting. But it turned out he wasn't bullshitting. So he technically spoiled
Maybe
it for everybody.
Looked on his fucking phone or something. That's
Yeah.
fucking bullshit.
So we,
And again,
we
I was
both
like,
had bad
I'm not sure.
What the
theater
fuck?
experiences, and I'm someone who loves going to see movies in theaters.
Yes.
We're trying to bring
I
him back.
advocate for theaters because I like the experience of seeing a movie communally with other people. But I think the
Suck.
pandemic people forgot how to act around other people.
Yes, Jacob, you just hit it on the head. That is 100%. People truly
Yeah.
are like, I was alone for 3 years, acting however I want when I watch a movie. That is how I watch movies now, and it's like,
Yeah.
no.
Do you think, that's probably the first time since they were like under 10 years old that they've been to a movie. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
were locked down for 3
That's
years
true.
of being a formative adult
That's
person.
true.
That's really true.
Oh my god!
It's not
from
an
like
excuse for the
9.
behavior.
No, it's not. But
It's
Mike,
something you
that's
gotta
so
think about. You're
interesting that
right.
you say that.
I'm sorry.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
know, dude.
I try to find, I empathize for the human race, but I don't want to be annoyed when I'm at my movies. So I will be going to the Alamo from now on because we went to a Regal. Man,
Oh, yeah.
rough crowd. I want people who take the shit seriously.
And we did the Regal too.
Yeah,
Or no, we did
I
the
think I'm-
Cinemark. Yeah.
I think I'm
Cinemark.
out of any general public theater, man.
Sure.
It's going to be like boutique because at least that audience
Alamo
takes it
Draft House,
seriously.
they are really good about it. Like even if
It's
you
a
have your
rule
phone
there.
on or something, like
Yeah.
they'll remove you. And I
Oh,
was
let's bring it
I was
up.
talking to my mom afterwards. She's like, "Oh, I would have went to the manager of the theater or whatever and like complained or got my money back or something." But that's not really something I even thought about because I guess I just don't think about that kind of thing. But
In the moment, I just felt paralyzed. I'm
Yeah.
good at screaming at people and telling them to shut up, but truly, when it is a child, a little girl, I
yeah,
was
when
like,
it's a bunch
"There's,
of
I
12-year-old
can't do
girls.
anything."
Yeah,
Right,
it's a little
right.
more
I'm not gonna
like,
discipline you.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
I
between a
really
rock and a
put the
hard
blame
place.
more on their parents for
Yeah.
not parenting. But anyways.
Yeah, what do they buy the
completely.
tickets and then just go sit at the bar once the kids got in there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seems
whatever.
like it.
But
Also, back
that's
to the
it.
movie, screaming at the Tony Revolori reveal. That everybody was excited, and that's why you go to the movies live, and when we see these type of movies. Me too. I was like, "Oh my god!" We were in it, dude.
Yeah.
And some of the kills in this, like the crowd was hot. There was a lot of whoa shit, like that stuff is
Hell
fine
yes.
for the live experience, But when people are talking
Yeah, I
over
like
stuff, it's
people
no good.
participating in the movie, not having conversations with each other and like shining their phone flashlights and
No.
stuff. Like
So don't do
that's a
that in
whole
the
other thing.
theaters, people, please.
yeah.
But
And
pandemic.
saying back to me when I said turn the flashlight off. What? What do you mean? What do you mean? I mean
What do you
turn the
mean?
flashlight.
This
off.
isn't your fucking living room. That's what I mean.
Man, wild.
But we're probably just
Well,
sounding like boomers now.
We're
Yes,
screaming at
we are
clouds now, but I do want to bring up a little pandemic note because this movie was Scream 6, right? Or
Yeah.
Scream 5, sorry. Scream 5 came out 2022. It was in production in
Yes.
2020 and it got delayed because of the pandemic,
Oh, of
Right.
course.
which does skew the ages of everybody from 1996, from the original Scream to now, where they're technically 2 years older than they say they are in the film, because this should be taking
Oh,
place in
sure.
2020. But when I did the
Oh, okay.
math, Sam should be 26 and it says she's 24. Jenna Ortega should be 21 and she's 19.
Damn, supposed to be 24. She seems so mature in these movies.
You would be at this point.
Yeah, working at a
So it
fucking
makes sense
bowling
that-
alley.
Yeah.
Sheriff Judy would have a high school age son. I guess she had a little kid in 4 that
Yeah.
we just didn't mention.
Yeah,
Yes.
but so the pandemic
Decided.
shifted the whole timeline, bumped it by 2 years. So we were on parallel to real time, but now we're kind of staggered by 2 years. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Whether they reference that or not, or if that's just an oversight, I don't know. But
So to wrap up, what happens in 5? So we find out obviously the killers are Richie, who is Sam's boyfriend, who says he doesn't like horror movies or whatever. It's kind of a red herring, right? But he was the mastermind, and then he sort of implied that he kind of grooms this girl that is in the friend group, Amber. That's like
they met
his
on an online
girlfriend.
forum.
Yeah, it really seemed to be like he's older. He kind
Mhm.
of,
If he's in his
groomed her
20s,
online
she's a
and-
high schooler. That's grooming.
Yeah.
Not good.
So that was an interesting angle, but so obviously,
There's a new
they
Leatherface.
defeat them.
Leatherface. Sorry.
Ghostface, yeah.
Yeah.
They kill Richie and Amber, blah blah blah. Move to New York City, trying to get away. So they go to NYU, or Tara goes to NYU, and the Meeks siblings, I think they say they go to NYU or something. They're
Regardless, we're in New
they're
York,
doing a
we're at a
college thing.
university, and now
Yeah.
there's a new ghost face suddenly stalking the Carpenter sisters, and we need to figure out who is doing it, why are they
This
doing
one
it,
is
right?
different, right?
This is different, but I don't know
Yeah.
if we want to spoil it yet, or do we
Well,
want to...
they keep leaving
Yeah.
masks at the scene of the murders that have DNA of the past killers, and they're going
Correct.
sequentially. So the first ones are Richie and Amber's DNA, then they have Jill Roberts, then they have the killer in 3, killer in 2, etc. So they have all
They're
these
counting down.
original masks from the real events somehow that they got their hands on. They find out there's a whole shrine of Ghostface killers, right? Then we also get this so first of all, we have this cop played by Dermot Mulroney, who is their. So they have a roommate in New York City. This cop is their roommate's dad. Then we have FBI agent Kirby
Oh my God.
from Scream 4, Hayden Panettiere.
Basically returning to acting with this role.
Well, I looked at she hasn't done much in film, but she was on TV. She was doing this show called Nashville for a long time, right? Which I've never seen. But I'm probably the number one member of the Hayden Panettiere fan
Impossible.
club. So
Watch Heroes?
the
Impossible.
Kirby fan
you're
club.
you're talking to the founding member.
Oh wow, you run 2 fan clubs? That's wild.
That's right.
Yeah, you're in the. You
I
got the
have
Jenna
to.
Ortega.
Yeah.
I have all these
Kirby-
cards.
Rewatching 4, which I did recently. I'm a huge fan of Kirby in that movie, and having her come back, really connecting, because obviously they were already connected to 1 through 3, the original Sidney Prescott trilogy. Now they're connecting 4 also with Sheriff Judy, who was in 5.
Yeah,
That's
got
another
4,
connection
5,
to
6
4,
now.
obviously. Yeah.
5 featured an Easter egg, which was a YouTube video link in the corner of a TV screen that had interview with Woodsboro survivor Kirby, blah, blah, blah. And
That's
that
cool.
set up that the character was alive. And fans were shocked because, of course, we saw her ending in 4 does not imply that she would sort of continue to exist.
Right. They never show her. Well, she might
Right.
have. I mean,
A
I guess
trick
it's
this
hinted at, but
franchise
they
will
don't
continue
show
to
her.
pull.
Again, we
Right,
need
so,
a
yes.
blanket. But they also didn't show the body, so there's
We
no
need a
guarantees.
blanket.
We need
Or
a
we need
blanket
someone
sitting on an
saying, literally-
ambulance.
Hospital.
Yeah, ambulance.
Spoiler alert for this one, but Mike, literally, Mindy says later, these drugs are great. Like,
Yeah.
that's how she's doing so well.
The only
It's
way
like,
I know
okay,
for
great,
sure
cool.
if someone survived is if they have a
And
blanket
Mindy is kind of
and
the
they're on an
new
ambulance.
Kirby, who's following this archetype of the film nerd
Of
who
the
explains
Randy,
the
yes.
rules. Yeah, the Randy Meeks was the first. Their
Her
uncle.
uncle,
Mhm.
In 4, it was Kirby. Also, kind of this kid Charlie,
hot
who's
nerd.
like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Kirby's whole thing is that she's a nerd who loves movies and horror and stuff, but she's
Can you even
also
imagine?
super attractive.
Oh my
Yep.
God. A girl?
Having interests. Wow. But Kirby's great. We're way
Yes.
into that. And then there's like the
So-
incel kid who's like, "Oh, you didn't notice me in 4 years of school, and that's why he was the
Yeah,
accomplice." It's like,
Jesus.
oh god, so dumb. Anyway,
Yeah,
Kirby's
and that's
great though,
kind of the Jack Champion character. in
right? And
this one
she's
now.
made the FBI by now, though. So good for Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, timeline wise, is that tracking? How long does it take a
Well-
high school junior to become an FBI field
He's
She's
agent?
in
had
her
11
early
years
30s
or
now,
so.
I guess. Maybe
Yeah.
it makes sense. But then it's kind of hinted that she was suspended for acting erratically, or if that was just something that the
Is alleged.
cop was
but
saying
we'll-
at the end. But so we have the core 4. We have Kirby,
Mindy, Chad,
Mindy,
Tara.
Chad.
Or
Well, I was saying
sorry,
the core 4 plus
Yeah.
plus Kirby plus
That's
cop
right, yeah.
dad. Obviously,
Plus roommate.
one of the first deaths
Yeah.
is roommate Quinn, who we think is
Oh,
dead.
good memory pull.
Maybe
Mhm.
not. So she's
Well, let's
killed
set
right
up
away.
the circumstance. All right, because here's the deal. We get a little Ghostface killing of the people in the apartment. There's a little police kerfuffle going on. Ooh, this is weird. Then there's the big bodega scene chase. And at this point, it's like, oh, my dad's a cop. Bring you down to the station. Let's see what's going on. And then the cop's like, oh, you can't leave New York City, because they're an ongoing investigation. So they want to get out of there, but they
And
can't.
Sam is also
Yeah.
considered a suspect because of these online conspiracy theories where they think that she
There's a
also
phone video that
was
leaks
behind
of her being
5, right?
aggressive. I'll kill you,
Yeah.
she says to somebody.
So
So
they're
all this
painting
stuff.
her as this crazy woman who's maybe has homicidal tendencies. And then, of course, we have Gail Weathers coming back, the only returning original cast member, because obviously Dewey's dead, killed
Mhm.
off in 5. And Sidney Prescott, Nev Campbell, did not come back for this one because she said they did not offer her enough money and she was sort of insulted by their offer. So she said, I'm not coming back. Courtney
A
Cox,
very
however,
public pay dispute, yes.
yeah, Courtney Cox is like, I'll come back. I don't give a shit.
And we get, we
The
get about-
money, the check clears, baby. It doesn't have to be a big amount.
we get a little bit of Billy Loomis here too, and like
That's right.
If you
that's right,
made
yeah.
friends money, would you say no to anything? Like if anybody just asked for your time, wouldn't you be like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. It costs me nothing.
Right. And she does get a little more solo time now that, there's no Sydney and no Dewey. She can kind of be
Yeah.
like, she's the one link to the
Well,
original
Mhm.
trilogy. Yeah.
again, we're jumping ahead a little, but Mike, another
Yes.
convention breaker for the franchise here. What did you think about Gail Weathers getting a phone call? She's never had a phone call with Ghostface before.
And that's
Yeah, that
something
was
he
cool.
says too, right?
I guess that's
I've
an easy
never
way to do
talked to
it
you on the
too.
phone, bitch.
Yeah. Maybe we should, maybe that's a good way to just do the set pieces, and then we could do because like that's really the easiest way I think. But this is one of the set pieces near the tail end. But yeah, we get Ghostface calling Gale Weathers, a very cool moment. Never happened, and I like that she's met everyone's met. 10 other guys have tried this. It hasn't ended that well for them, and like that stuff's all
Right.
fun. But how do you feel about this?
Did
interaction?
not love the ending line, Mike, of "Tell Sydney he didn't get me." He did stab you a bunch of times.
Well,
and there
she's
is
gotten
no
shot in
guarantee.
these.
I mean, yeah,
She
the main
seems to
three
know
is
that she will magically survive.
Liev Schreiber says, "Geez, Gale, it's like you got 9 lives in Scream 3 or whatever."
the amount of damage that the main trio
Ooh.
gets through like the whole series is insane. Like even in 4, like they're just getting stabbed,
Can I
thrown
say
into
to you guys,
things.
you get this much scar tissue, and listeners, my fingers are very close, and that changes the way you live the rest of your life for all of time. Now, when your body is a web of scar tissue because you are a Thanksgiving turkey, essentially,
Oh yeah.
how are you going to live the rest of your life if you're these people?
Scar tissue limits your muscle movement, but I like the attention
Yes.
to detail. Like Tara has the scar on the back
they
of her
love
hand from
playing
catching
that
that
card.
knife. Yeah, but
No,
that's
she
an
will
iconic moment.
drink with that hand only. Mike,
Kirby
to
Only.
camera.
has scars like on
When
her
she got
stomach and stuff. She's
stabbed.
like, Charlie, the last killer in 4 fucking stabbed me, blah blah blah. Made
Yep.
me go in the FBI. Yeah, so the killer attacks
Let's do
Gail
each.
in her apartment.
Yeah, go through them all.
Let's start with the first main attack is in our, like you said, Jacob, with Quinn. And they're in the apartment. They're like, "Oh, core 4, we're gonna be okay." And then all of a sudden, I'm in
That
your
scene that
apartment.
happens in every Scream movie where the main cast is all together in a house and they're talking about, what's happening, and then
Who is it?
Ghostface attacks, right?
Hey
Yep.
there.
Oh, there's also
I-
a hot neighbor guy that we didn't mention. Who
Josh
is...
Segura, who we just saw in She-Hulk, who of course we all adore.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Sam Carpenter's secret boyfriend or guy she's hooking up with.
Mhm.
Red
who
Herring, I believe
He's
his
a red
name is.
herring, but
Yeah,
turns
yeah.
out to be a good guy.
He's
hot
right across
and a good guy.
the window, right
Hmm.
across kind of the alleyway, so to speak. So they're always making
Yes.
googly eyes, him and Sam, and then they were secretly hooking up. But he's able to be the first one to see something wrong through the window, very rear window. He sees
Yes.
Ghostface in Quinn's room and stuff, and he's trying to get their
That's
attention.
right.
I don't know why he didn't
And-
throw a brick across the way, but anyway.
Well, that's a good idea. But not answering the question yet, but just saying what we know about Ghostface. Why do we think this scene is occurring exactly? It's just a play for Josh Segura's character to be like, hey, look what we're doing.
Well, it's a red herring, and it's a red herring to kill Quinn off
Mhm.
early and kind of remove her from the suspects list. And then there's that scene with the ladder where they're crawling between apartments, and Mindy's girlfriend is the last to kind of go across, and then she gets killed.
Yeah. I
and-
love this ladder scene, by the way.
Yeah,
Like,
it was good.
I think this apartment sequence, not throwing a brick through the window aside in a life and death situation, okay, hot neighbor, but that aside, I really like the sequence. I like the payoff when we learn the red herrings, and I like the whole ladder deal. It's like visceral with the whole dumpster. Like it's tense, and like even how playfully Leatherface is like fucking with the side of the ladder a little bit. Like he could just tip it, but he's fucking with them. Like you can tell he's
Yeah.
kind of deriving some pleasure from this.
Super
I
high
really
up,
enjoy
and
that
then-
sequence.
yeah,
Yeah.
she falls, dies.
Busts her head on dumpster.
Yeah.
But-
And then we get what? Gail Weathers after that at her house. Her boyfriend gets killed. Here's another sad thing with Gail and Dewey's relationship. In 4, they're married,
Mhm.
but there's some tensions there. Then in 5, they're divorced, and Dewey's like living alone in Woodsboro. And I just think that's really sad that they couldn't make it work,
Dies
Yeah.
that way.
And then he
Yeah,
dies.
they
Yeah.
try to. I'm 90% here because of you, and he says, "Well, I'm 90% happy to hear that." Like he's still very
Ah.
hurt.
Yeah.
But they kind of make up a little bit. But he does, he dies in that movie, so that's trauma for her. But she's got a new boyfriend. The muscles didn't help him much, apparently.
No, he
But
got
I like
killed
this
off pretty
sequence. I
easily.
like this fight, Colin. What do you think about
I
Keanu
love
Reeves'
it.
Ghostface?
It features what I wish we got more in this franchise, which is people running to a gun locker, because I truly believe at this point everybody would be armed. I like, again, what they're implying with Sam, to jump back to the sequence of the attack in her apartment, where literally it's like she's just drawn to the butcher knives. She just like keeps walking over there. Later, she's like, somebody took the butcher knives. They didn't want me to have my weapons. And you're like, you should have a bat or something, or a gun. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Something just feels right about stabbing. I just want
Yeah.
to stab.
A buck knife that's this big. That Jesus.
Oh, we also didn't mention the killer also kills her therapist, and it's also sort of a part of framing her as a suspect.
Oh, that's true, because she confesses to having these dark thoughts, and
He's
feeling.
Okay, so that psychiatry scene is very weird because he acts very unlike a therapist would, to be like, this is like too much for me. I can't handle this. And it's like,
There's
well, isn't that your job?
She gives a speech where she says, what people don't know is my father was a prolific serial killer, and the internet has turned against me after the discovery last year that a series of killings were linked to the fact that I am his daughter, and they are trying to pin these more recent killings on me, when in fact I did kill those people for trying to threaten and harm me. And she unloads that, and I think his reaction is very fair to say, I am not equipped to, this is not a therapy question exactly. Yeah, it's like.
But that's his job, is to help her with that.
At least be like, hey, this is pretty serious. Maybe I can refer you to a colleague. Like, this is a little beyond the scope of my personal expertise.
I know there's certain rules
validate your emotion.
Instead, this movie again has to hit that like Sam is like the most troubled badass that this movie has ever had, and I'm into it because I think Michelle Barrera, the actress, is like very good. So
I think the whole cast is very good in this. Honestly, like at least the core four and Tara, like generally,
I like them. My main problem with 5 and 6 is that there's too many cast members that just survive. Like they're not killing enough main cast members, which has always been a thing with Scream 1 through 4, is that you got to kill more friends. Like in this one, I feel like that's kind of a big complaint I have with 6, is not enough people die, not enough important characters. Everyone that gets attacked. Gail,
we'll get down there. Yeah, but I hear you. It's a bloated cast.
I need at least one more person to die, I guess.
I've seen some director interviews now where they've come out and said they just must be sentimental because they just love these characters and don't want to see anything happen to them. And it's like, okay, fair enough. And you're setting up another one.
And also, they want to do another one. They want to have Jenna Ortega in the main cast.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, we got dealt the hottest hand on the planet. We're gonna play this card. How dare you?
Right.
But look, here's the thing. What I also think is the weakness of this franchise, Jacob, of 5 and 6, you're saying too many characters. I'm saying not defined characters. Tara gives this entire speech about like, you're not letting me live my life. My life is I go to college. After that, I graduate. Then I get a job. Those are the specific quotes she says in that scene. She does not say, I'm majoring in this. This is who I am. This is what I want out of my life.
Just job.
Now,
college job.
Chad Meeks hyphen whatever their other name is, he was Mike in the last film wearing a Letterman jacket the entire time. Now, if you're stabbed 80 times, you cannot keep playing sports no matter what happens to you for the rest of your life. We could have gotten scenes in this one that are like, by the way, I'm here because I had that scholarship they had to give me. I'm benched the whole season because obviously I'm going to redshirt and I'm not going to play. Like, this kind of like fucked up my life too. No, we don't get any of that. Instead, he's like
he's fine.
Hey, by the way, I'm like supposed to like be the man crush now. Like, wouldn't it be great if like we were together? Some little girls will yell out shipped to us. So that's good.
We ship it.
He's he's in a frat now. He's got like a nerdy roommate, Jack Champion, our guy Spider from Avatar, of course.
And he's trying to hook up. And Tara's trying to hook up in the first scene. And then halfway through, they're like, wait, shouldn't we have been trying to hook up with each other? Like, truly, it feels like the people who had to write this went, fuck. This movie got greenlit. It's not how Colin thought it was, because Mike just explained that there was a huge gap between these films, even though they released 1 year apart. I thought for sure this was a case of the screenwriter being like, yeah, I have ideas for another one. Just like shuffling papers around going like, here's what we'll do. But no, they would have had some time on this. I don't get it. Yeah.
And with the Jenna Ortega thing, like when Scream 5 came out or when it was shooting, she was not the level of stardom that she is now.
Production
of course,
started
and now,
in 2020.
She hadn't done
Yeah.
X
Yeah.
yet. She was literally coming
Right.
off of You
Of
on
You,
Netflix, and people were
right,
like,
season
"Oh,
2 of
okay,
You.
you're like a young ingenue. That's great."
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, I open and close films.
Yeah, Wednesday changed the game. Obviously,
Yeah.
she's becoming sort of another a horror icon, like a scream queen, because she's been
Like
in
Mia
so many
Goth
horror
is
movies.
now, yeah.
Yeah, and so now they're like, oh, we hit the jackpot. She wasn't even the main character really of Scream 5.
She did a
but-
lot with what they gave her, though. The opening
Yeah.
scene and the hospital stuff
Well,
with the wheelchair,
absolutely,
man. She
And
crushes
Mike,
that.
they carry over all that stuff they gave her. Obviously, she hit her inhaler one time in the film to show us that
Yeah.
she still needed it.
She does.
Right.
Yep, still need it.
She's got asthma. Yeah.
Yep.
So they're like, yeah, we
Relatable.
obviously got to
The
make
character
more
trait.
movies if we have
Yeah.
her under contract for 3 films or whatever. I
But
don't
they
know what the deal with
can't.
is.
They just don't know what to write.
I guess you're right. The roommates are thin. Like, yeah, Chad could have had this awesome stuff where, yeah, he lost his scholarship.
Mindy-
she's very
Mindy
much
says,
movie
"I'm in a
nerd
film
girl.
class." What is
I do
Mindy
like
doing
Mindy.
otherwise?
Mindy is the new, like you said, Randy Meeks, where she explains the movie rules. She's a film person.
I guess that's all that
And-
Randy was too. To be fair, he's pretty
Yeah.
one-dimensional.
But Randy
Um,
worked. He had a life. He wanted to have sex with Sydney. He was her,
Yeah, Mindy is a
Baxter best
lesbian.
friend.
She likes
Yes,
to smoke
but he
weed.
like had his job. Yes. But in this,
And
she's
you
like,
know
I
what?
went
I'm
to a
rooting for
film
her.
class. I
Watch
like my
movies.
girlfriend. That's
Yeah.
it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I like them all enough. There could have been more done with their
Yeah.
arcs. Yeah, sure. But I think
Well, this is what I'm just saying. Like the core
Yeah.
4 never have so many main characters survive movie to movie and Scream. It's usually, Sydney and Gail and Dewey, but like usually most of
core
Sydney's
3.
friends don't make it.
Yeah, we've always had
Uh,
just like the main 3. It's never been a
Yeah.
core 4, so this is a
Core
first.
4, that's a whole different
The
thing.
terrific
But-
trio. We're
One
very
more
happy
than we
about it.
normally have. Interesting.
But just most of the friend group surviving, as opposed to
Yes.
most Scream movies where like most of the friend group just gets killed off. This one, it feels like, I mean, the friends that don't turn out to be murderers, really, how many people actually died? It was really just Mindy's
Most
girlfriend.
most of the killings, Jacob, are the guy at the bodega, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a guy at the
Randos.
bodega, or you're like the therapist, and it's like, well, I didn't really like the
Or
therapist.
the-
You made him appear like a villain.
The husband boyfriend of Gail, who's kind of out of focus in the background, not
Yeah, who's
featured very
replacing
much.
Dewey? It's like I don't want that guy to live.
Yeah, but
No, I
no,
feel like
no
if-
featured characters really.
If they are making another one and you got the core 4, at least one of the core 4 has to die in the next
I would
movie.
say I think they're going to go through the lot of them. I think we'll get down to a core 1 maybe. But again, I
Wow.
think they're kind of
Just Jenna.
running thin on what the premise could be. So let's ramp up to getting to the reveal of the killers, because
Finale
I
and
think
everything
that's
here.
the issue of it. But
Well, so
let me ask this to Mike
Yeah.
real quick.
Mhm.
So let's say the rules. We've been talking about Mindy. Let's have Mindy explain what is this film a parody of?
Okay, so yeah, now we're in a franchise, right?
a franchise.
right, which means all
Which
the
they
rules
weren't-
are out the window. Main
Yeah,
characters
it wasn't a
can die.
franchise in the first 5, right? It's only a
Hmm.
franchise when you get to 6 movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was expecting her to go into a cinematic universe tangent. We're in a cinematic universe where characters
You're
from
gonna
3
get a
movies
spin-off.
ago.
She starts like saying that to people. You're
Yeah,
gonna get
like-
a Paramount Plus show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just gonna get a whole thing, a Loomis show, right? But anyway,
Maybe that'll be the next one, Mike. Maybe that's what 7 will be.
we're ready, right? Yeah. But it's all the rules are out the window. They're saying like even the main character could be the killer, that kind of stuff, right? That's where they did that
Right.
in 5 too, though, so it's not really
4
that different.
The main character 4 was the killer, wasn't Joe Roberts? The main,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Sydney. They already
Yes,
did the
you're-
Sydney
yeah,
was the killer, right? So,
Oh yeah, that's totally true.
but yeah, so they're talking about it as a franchise now. This is another reason why I like 5 more than 6, because I feel like 5 is really about something more specific than 6. 6 is a continuation of 5, but it's not really saying much that 5 didn't already say. And we can get into the twist of the killer and stuff, but it's kind of doing 2. It's the 2 to 5's 1, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
sequel, yeah.
Spiritual
Yeah.
successor to that. Yeah, it's in that energy.
They're in
yeah.
college. Yeah. The killers.
You know what?
are-
You're 100% right. You're 100%
Yeah.
right. So let's get into it. We have this finale here, and then we can kind of go through
right.
what that all
So we
means.
find out there's this shrine to
Well,
the screen.
yes.
the-
What's
yeah.
the franchise things? The dropping of the mask. Those are Easter eggs. Those are IRL Easter eggs. I think somebody
Mhm.
says that line.
Yes, they do
Okay.
say that.
the franchise. Again, they see this museum of original Ghostface items where they walk around and go, everything that's ever been part of the Westboro killings is here. Look, here's the drawing of Henry Winkler's principal character getting murdered in the first
Mhm.
film or something.
Right.
You're
Here's
like
all
truly
the
like,
knives with like the
what?
blood still on them. And
this is
stuff.
like, and then
They come from
truly,
the evidence locker like that, though. They wouldn't clean
Yeah.
them.
yes. And they would have to, and they start pointing things like this out. And to the point that listeners who don't watch this franchise, you have to understand that this movie has scenes where literally a character, I could turn to Jacob and be like, this is the knife that stabbed you in number 2, remember? And you go like, and like touch your wound. And it's like,
Right.
like it's crazy.
There's
So
something,
that is,
crazy about that.
these are elements I like where it is like, this is the franchise stuff where you go, this is the obsession. But what it can't have is the two ways of it all of it's somebody who doesn't care about the movies is doing all this, it's revealed, to continue the legacy of somebody who cared about it so much that they're trying to add so much background to the prior movie to this one.
Can I have commentary? Can I have counterpoint? So,
Yeah,
all right, we
please.
have a franchise, right? There was this movie was made as a labor of love, let's say by Richie. If in this example, he had this passion for this thing, right? And then now the reins are handed off to somebody who didn't care about it. It's multiple people. It's a corporate conglomerate trying to continue a thing that at first was one person's dream fucking project.
But they're doing it.
There's commentary
because
there.
They want to continue what Richie was doing because they have a relationship.
But
Because
the
it-
dad,
because it
let's
meant
say the reveal.
something to them.
Who
I love
done
it.
it?
Yeah,
Who
we'll
done
reveal-
it?
So we find out. So Quinn, the roommate, died. Right, got a throat cut, as far as we know. The cop dad is like, "I'm gonna catch whoever did this. Whoever killed my daughter." He starts,
daughter.
you know, guarding them or whatever. He kind of is putting suspicion on Kirby as like, "Oh, the FBI called. They let her go like months ago because she was acting
Mhm.
erratically. So they don't know if they can trust her now." They
Hit pause,
it all culminates
real
in
quick.
this shrine. Yeah.
I turned to Jacob when we left after this. I said, there's not even a chance it could have been Kirby. Why would you even
Right.
waste the audience's time trying with that?
It wouldn't make
accusation?
sense
That's
with
the
her
characters
character
don't know,
before.
though.
At all.
Yeah,
At
unless they wanted to do the thing like she was driven insane by the traumatic events
Which
that happened in
I
4.
would have hated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it would have
yeah.
been stupid.
Continue.
Kirby's a good guy, yeah.
So
a good
Kirby is like, all right, we're all gonna go to this shrine, and we're gonna kill the killers there. We're gonna bait them, kind of lead them to the shrine and kill them there.
Killbox.
Killbox, yeah.
It's revealed, of course, that also there's a lot of suspicion on Chad's roommate, Jack Champion, like we said, nerdy guy who's trying to.
He seems to be
Pause.
absolved in the train scene, which is very good. Is that the pause you were doing?
Yes.
No. Very important pause. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this podcast, we are talking about Jack Champion. And of course, Jack Champion is a very special actor to us because Jack Champion is Spider from
Mhm.
Avatar Way of the Water.
Yeah,
Love him.
Unpause.
He's
Yes.
a champion.
There you go,
Imagine if he said buttholes in this film. You buttholes!
Butthole.
Yeah,
Shut up,
dude.
butthole.
Shut up,
He-
Ghostface, you butthole!
His character would have, but there was an attack on the train on Mindy that Mindy survives, and
Yes.
she's in the hospital, and he's with there. So we're like, okay, there's some suspicion on him, but he didn't do that one. So what?
Couldn't
the
be
heck?
Ethan.
You know, you're
Couldn't be.
thinking, oh, there's
He had
probably
Econ.
multiple ghost faces. There's pretty much always multiple ghost faces, right? I
Except for
think in every
Scream
movie.
3.
Scream
Yep.
3, right? So you're thinking, like, who could it be? I'm just gonna say I suspected the cop early on, which I don't even know why. I just felt like, I feel like this cop's gonna be behind it or something.
Mm-hmm.
So the
I
reveal, of
suspected
course,
Jack Champion.
Okay, yeah, and I feel like that was a red
Mike?
It's like a double
Neighbor
red
guy,
herring where it's
Jack
like,
Champion sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cop a little bit. I was
Neighbor
bouncing
guy was a
around, but
red
then
herring. Jack Champion
Yeah.
felt like a double thing where you're supposed to think he's a red herring, but then it
Where
turns-
literally they tell you, like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
movie says, it's you. We all think it's you. And he goes, well, then it's so obvious it can't be me. And you're like,
Right.
okay.
yeah.
And I
So before we
didn't, you know-
pull the mask off,
Yeah.
I just
Right,
want to
well,
say,
yeah.
I think I was suspicious of all those characters, right? Like
Yeah.
the neighbor, I was suspicious of the cop, I was suspicious of Jack Champion, and they did a good job of setting up scenarios where it's like, no, it couldn't have been because they have an alibi. They're with our core group,
Yeah.
so they kept putting enough twists and turns
They
that I
do
had to
keep you
keep like
guessing.
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that was the
I
strength
didn't
of
think
this.
it would be hot neighbor guy because I thought that's too similar to
The
5,
boyfriend.
where they're like,
To Richie.
you know, always look at the love
Mhm.
interest, and of course it was Richie. You can't do the boyfriend of Sam Carpenter again.
No.
So we find out. So they all go to the shrine. Cop meets them over there. We finally find out. First of all, they think it's Kirby for a little bit. Then we find out no, it's the cop. And not only is it the cop, his daughter is Quinn, who's not actually dead, but who's helping, and his son is Jack Champion. So they're all one big happy family. Oh, and then the other twist, of course, is
They're
that
doing it for.
his other son was Richie, Jack Quaid in Scream 5. So it's his two siblings and his dad that are carrying on his legacy from 5, trying to complete what he started.
And get
So-
revenge, yeah.
So they found out his old college roommates or current college roommates were, or maybe also just people that he found online, but Tony Revolori and Tony Revolori's roommate were inspired to carry out his plan. And
They're
they
all part of
said,
this online
no,
community.
Yeah. We will do it instead. So
We are
yeah, it
doing
is.
that.
There's some Texas Chainsaw there, Mike. There's a lot of the later Halloween sequels where like Michael's just related to everybody. It's
Yeah,
like,
the
let's just all
timeline
slow
is
Like I was
down.
saying, the
complicated.
Scream 2,
Yeah.
obviously Scream 2
Yeah.
killer was Mama Loomis,
Nancy
Billy
Loomis,
Loomis's
yep.
mom, Nancy Loomis. So it's kind of a
And
spin
Timothy
on
Oliphant.
that.
Handsome
Right,
cowboy
right.
actor.
Very handsome cowboy actor. So yeah, and I don't remember who actually did the shrine. Was it Tony Revolori and his roommate, or was it them and they just said it
Richie
was Tony?
purchased all the items from Cops Online, but it's
Okay.
also implied that I guess Detective Bailey, which again, the directors have now said all these names are fake. Quinn's a fake name. Detective Bailey's a fake name. And then people are like, but how could
Right.
he get transferred and be a real cop? And they're like, well,
Yeah,
he's doing
where-
it. It's just like,
it gets a little
like
complicated.
You can see them sort of like lock their gears up too. So none
you
of
can't
it's
just
good.
become a cop. Like I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they do background checks and that kind of thing.
Well-
Look into your identity.
Well, yeah,
Um,
if Kirby was half the FBI agent she should have been, you easily look up who is this? Oh my God, real last name. He's related to Richie. This is crazy.
Right.
You know,
I'll-
it is kind
I'll
of
just say
suspicious
this
that
real
he's
quick.
getting put on his daughter's case and everything, right?
Well, nothing.
They
There's
do
no
take 'em off.
universe where this whole movie could have occurred because when Richie, a serial killer, is unmasked in a very high-profile killing, there is not an internet search that does not happen where 1,000 pictures of the parents,
Their
the
family,
family,
right.
anyone related would not
That's
be
true.
online, readily
Yeah.
accessible, posted every other day. I mean, that's just how the world works. You're fooling yourself.
in a world where smartphones are a plot function. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the
And
thing,
yeah,
I
that's
definitely
it's
think
fun.
there
I can write
are
all that
some-
away. I don't care.
You suspend
Yeah.
it, yeah, but there's
I
logic
think there are
holes
some
in
plot
these.
holes within their plan, which
Yes.
some of the other Scream movies don't have as many. Like Scream 4, I think works very well, and there's really no inconsistencies of the plan, that Joe Roberts
Generally.
has. So
But this plan, what this character is inevitably doing, which is again, he says flat out, I don't like these movies. I'm going to these incredible lengths to
I
pin
never
it to
understood them,
make it. I
but
don't.
I love my son.
Hey,
and I want to. I love my
that's a good
crazy
dad to
serial
me,
killer
Jacob.
son.
Yeah.
Dermot Mulroney's a good father in my book, regardless. How they turn out, that's up to them.
Mhm.
He's doing this as a repeat of 5. It's the exact same plan of I'm going to do these things. I'm going to pin it on you. Everybody will think you just went crazy, which already didn't work.
On
And
Kirby,
it's
right?
just
Sam.
no, they're going to pin it
Roberts
on Sam
wanted to
again.
do it too.
Right.
Sydney snapped. I'm gonna, yeah.
Yes.
They've been doing it.
Yeah.
I know. It just bugs me that is the only way we can get to. And when I think about a 7th one, I wonder how it can occur to grow beyond that, because I don't think that can be the card you play again, but I don't think they have much else to play with, unfortunately.
That is the question of like, so both these movies really involve the Richie family. I don't know his last name, but
Cunningham.
But he
Cunningham.
supposedly does not have one. So I don't
We
know.
haven't
so
established
now
that
the
yet.
family is dead. Where can you go with 7 and keep these characters as the main characters,
Yeah.
but someone else is doing Ghostface stuff
Yeah.
now? I don't know.
We
where they
have
can
all
go
these
from
untapped, like in this one, they hit again the weird stuff with the Carpenter's mothers, where it was like, Sam's still cut off because I told you all that stuff about how Billy's my dad, and Tara cut her off because, cutting Sam off means she's out of her life. And we
Right.
got the stuff in 5 where she was distant and weird and had a kid with a serial killer, where it almost seems like they're trying to set up some sort of hidden past third Scream movie reveal to continue the trend of let's just do the Scream sequels again. And I would not enjoy that. So
Well,
I
I
don't
got
know
an
where
idea.
you go.
gotten weary, right?
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thought. Again, not great. If we're just doing Scream 1, 2, and 3 again, This is
Yeah.
Scream 2, where a parent of somebody who got killed is
Right.
upset.
At
right?
college.
A previous villain. Boom. Okay. At college. Nice. 3, they go Hollywood, but it's a single person who's upset. It's Sydney's half brother. What if the father who left Sam's mother when he found out that Sam wasn't his kid, because Sam's mom
Tara's father
got pregnant and told Tara's dad that it was his, but it wasn't, right?
That's what. Yeah, they
That's-
did. That's what
So
they say. in
he's
5.
upset, and his whole life
Yeah,
went to shit.
you
So
could
he's mad at
see-
Sam,
You took my daughter from me. I could 100%.
and it's a single,
Mike.
killer again.
But he wouldn't want to
I'm-
kill Tara. His actual.
No,
I'm
he wouldn't, but-
Mr. Yeah, no, that's and she would be
Neither would
protected
this
in
cop,
some
you'd
scene.
think.
So imagine that, Jacob, when you're watching Ghostface not kill somebody, and you're like, oh,
Maybe they
Right.
finally give you well, he'll be unmasked from the beginning, and we'll see how we figure that out. A How Ketchum, like you were saying with Poker
Yeah.
Face. We need a How Ketchum Scream to do it different.
I don't
But
know.
I do
Josh
wanna
Segura
say-
said, "Let's do a musical." I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Jesus. I do want to say, when it was revealed that we have one Ghostface attacking Tara and Chad, and then they're running around, and then a second Ghostface shows up. Obviously, we know there's 2, and they stab the shit out of Chad. And then we get a third,
Now
the
there's
reveal that there's been a
3.
third. That
Wow.
was like, it blew my mind. I was legitimately impressed.
Yeah.
Like, damn, I would have never imagined 3. It's so obvious to just, you have more alibis. I was like, damn, that makes sense. So I liked
thought-
it.
yeah,
Maybe
One
not
of
the
things I
plot
thought
reasons,
they were doing,
but mechanically it's
Yeah.
cool.
and maybe this is just something that I
Hmm.
picked up on that it wasn't really supposed to be, but I thought that wasn't it like Ghostface this time is supposed to be more like athletic and aggressive and stuff. Maybe that was the dad because he's like a cop and like strong and stuff and an adult man, so he's a lot stronger than usually like teenagers or whatever.
the most violent killings the directors have gone through and claimed. So the therapist being punched through the door and the bodega shotgun killing were
Were the
Detective
cop.
Bailey.
Yeah.
that
And
makes
all the
sense.
other ones were the kids.
This is a
okay.
fun game that people like to play with the Scream franchises. Who killed who? Right?
Right.
And, the prevailing theory with the first 2 film nerds who get murdered, right, is that's the detective because he's using where I'm going to punish. Like, that's a very cop thing, right?
Right.
And he, would have access to the building, that's a cop thing, maybe. And using
Oh.
firearms in the bodega, right? But Quinn says that she killed or attacked Gail, which means Quinn was
she
somehow
claims
able to
that
throw that big ass man through a bush.
Yeah, again, the super strength.
The super
Yeah,
strength,
when you
but
put on
Quinn
a
claims
Ghostface mask,
that.
you immediately become super
Yeah.
strong.
And Quinn was on the train doing that.
Mario
killing
Star.
Mindy.
It's like when Mikey Madison, Amber in 5 is the one that kills Dewey, and it's like she's doing like crazy.
And she
shit. Yeah.
literally lifts him up. But in that one, that's
Mhm.
really interesting. Where kind of the directors say they claim that the ghost face pretty much the whole time is Amber. It's barely ever Richie. It's only one scene where he walks behind Mindy and stabs her as she's trying to watch the movie.
What a whole power
Right.
dynamic commentary that is.
It's just him controlling her. It's so
And they even
interesting.
say that in this. He was like a weak man baby who made his girlfriend do everything. I was like, damn, okay, go after it.
Oh yeah.
But is
I
there
loved
anybody we
it.
don't know for sure got killed? I think because it could have been the latter. The latter, I think, is the cop too, because Quinn was pretending
Yeah,
to be dead,
sure.
and homie had an alibi at
could have been
Econ
Jack
that seemed to
Champion,
check
right?
out.
Oh,
It could have been
yeah.
Jack
Oh,
Champion
I guess
too, though.
maybe those are the only ones he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So and we're getting to the end here, but I love the 3 killer reveal as well, Mike. It's sandwiched in between some very heavy-handed writing where, again, I just feel like the deadline for this script was fucking yesterday, baby.
Where they're
It's like,
explaining
I'm
Fair
doing
enough.
this thing
the
then.
previous movies, and they have like all the masks. Like I'm wearing this person's mask, and I'm wearing
Well,
this person's
that,
mask.
Jesus Christ. Yes, absolutely.
That's all commentary, though.
Stu
That's on
Macher's my
purpose.
favorite. Yeah.
That's
Remember
fine.
Barry.
It's all part of the franchise.
Yeah.
The interpersonal stuff where literally we started this film with Tara saying, I feel like you just won't let go of me, Sam. You have to let me live my own life. To her hanging over a balcony saying, you can let go of me now. It's okay. Like
Yeah.
that is, to say that's heavy handed, it is smothering you. It is so heavy. And then to the end of the
Smothering
film.
you like Sam is smothering Tara.
I knew you
Exactly.
could handle yourself.
Oh,
You weren't
but
touched by that.
Mike, to end it with a callback to this joke runner that they do too of, I'm definitely going to therapy now. That is
Mhm.
madness to me. Because you have this entire end act where they keep going like, we're better than you. We don't have to kill. I didn't have to kill Richie, blah, 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 blah. But then also it ends with Sam saying like, but I'm gonna kill you because you would just come back anyways. It like shoots the bad guy in the fucking head, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not positive what this wants to say about violence and survivor guilt and.
And they keep teasing with her dad, like she has that moment where
Yes,
she's touching
not to give
the
in.
suit or
Yes.
whatever.
He's saying you should kill. Killing is good. And she says, I'm not like you. I'm not like you. This film ends with her dressed like Ghostface killing people, Mike.
Yeah.
She is like him.
Well, and the last scene is like she's holding Billy Loomis's mask and then she drops it in the road and like walks away.
I have
Doesn't
a thought.
need it anymore. Let's go to Chinese food.
Yeah. I have a thought about this. And maybe it's a little prelude to final thoughts. We have to run in there, but I was thinking while watching these, I watched 4, 5, 6. I watched the end scenes of all the other movies just to see kind of the big monologue. What did the villain want to do, right? It's always somebody related to a murder. I mean, Billy Loomis does what he does because Sidney's mom broke up his family. And then he murders her and frames her new husband for the murder. Like, so it's always about a family trauma. And so it is about the cycle of trauma and abuse. So, okay, Sidney killed Billy. Billy's mom's coming after Sidney. Okay. Now, Sam kills Richie and Richie's family's coming after Sam. It's like, it never ends. It never ends, the cycle of abuse, right? So at least I think it's doing that correctly. At what point do we break the cycle? Was that at the end of this? I don't think so, because it's the highest opening of a Screen movie. But that's what this is all about. The trauma, like Sydney getting through her stuff. Now it's Sam, and it's always somebody related coming back in. So I don't know. It's got something. It's messy, but it's trying to do something.
Yeah. But it's getting away from, commentary on the horror genre itself because so much has been said already in the first 5 that it's like, I think it's running out of things to say. Yeah. And like, obviously, so between 4 and 5, there was 11 years. So a lot changed within the horror genre. And that's why I think it's so interesting that they're talking about very specific eras, the 2000s and then the 2010s and 2020s. From 22 to 23, 5 to 6, it's been 1 year. So like nothing's really changed. So like you said, it's a direct continuation of 5, but it's not.
All right, guys. We're in a direct to streaming vehicle. What that means is like the idea that like any commentary, what are they going to say, Jake?
And I think they do kind of like, that is an interesting angle of like, so many things that used to be films are now being turned into like series, right? Or like true crime.
Yeah. You just hit it, Jacob. So literally Courtney Cox's Gale Weathers says that thing about, well, this is when's the book coming out? I think you mean the true crime podcast or drama or Netflix special, wherever she says. If they wanted to earnestly and honestly comment on the current state of film to what it is right now, we have left the prestige horror stuff, the Babadook and stuff behind of the 5 and stuff. We've now moved on to true crime mini doc series, and that's what the Scream franchise should be. They wouldn't because they had that MTV show.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like even that is like something that started in the mid 2010s. So that's not really a recent thing. Serial and that kind of stuff has been around for a long time. And we had the era of like, Making a Murder on Netflix. That was huge.
Yeah.
You're right. The one on HBO. So I don't know where, like, I'm very interested to see what they do with 7 because it just seems like the Cunningham family we kind of
we're making that up. That's not canon. We're saying that's Richie's last name.
No, not Mindy. Literally, here's how it's gonna go. Mindy's gonna be like,
well, Corey. He's related to Corey. He's gonna come in.
Hey, no,
his long lost cousin, Corey Cunningham.
And can I say real quick to rate the Reddits?
That's what we do.
And there are 2. There's a Scream subreddit and a Scream, I believe, TV MTV is what it's called, subreddit. Scream TV MTV.
There was a Scream TV show.
Season 3 is about Ghostface, and it stars Keke Palmer from Nope, who we love. So you should watch it. It's very bad.
Not connected in canon with the whole movie franchise.
Again.
Does it take place in Woodsboro?
It does take place in Woodsboro, yes. So here's
Agents
the thing.
of Shield canon until it's not.
Watch it.
Yeah. I don't think you need to. What was I gonna say? What was I just saying?
We just stole all that from you. We
About
have a
TV show.
True crime.
I was rambling about TV. What do they do? Oh, here's what Mindy will say. Literally, here's what Mindy will say. She'll say, "We're in a conclusion. We're in a film that
we're in the
wraps
third movie of a trilogy.
Rise of Skywalker."
Basically, we're all gonna go to our happy ending at the end, but not all of us because you'll get killed. And it's just gonna be bullshit. It's gonna be absolute bullshit, Jake.
And
Palpatine
who would you
returned
pitch as the killer?
Yes.
Because
the ghost of Billy Loomis.
I like what we said about Tara's dad. I think that's a very true, honest possibility.
If we're dealing with
So you think
trauma,
it'll just be one guy? It's Tara's dad, and he's killing all her friends and Sam because
take everything you had because you took everything from
Yes,
me.
yes, you took it.
Oh.
You took her away from me. I'm taking them all away. Yeah,
But
Because
wouldn't he
your
be more
father was
mad
a
at the
serial killer
mom
and your shit.
because the
Mm.
mom hid her true
Jacob,
parent.
Jacob,
Yeah.
opening phone call. Hey, Tara, I'm just checking in. I can't believe Sam's still mad at me and won't let me in your life. Hold on, I'm getting another phone
kill
call.
the mom in the
Ding,
opening?
ding. Who is this? Do you like fucking scary movies, you dumb bitch?
Whoa,
Because
and
that
she
was
talks about like
crazy
a
because-
psycho in old
swearing,
movies.
Ghostface? Oh no.
The
Yo.
mom, I don't think we ever even saw her in 5
We
or 6.
haven't.
They only
No.
talk about
over the
her.
two
Yeah.
films. We have not. That's what I'm saying. These characters have seemed so important to not be seen yet.
I
Yeah,
guess that's where you have to go with it. Yeah.
that makes sense. And then kill the mother in the opening act. She's talking about what year was Psycho released? You know, like the old people
it
horror
doesn't.
movies.
That's the thing. Like, it doesn't top 5 or 6 though. Narratively, it makes sense, but I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
how they.
No,
again,
no.
The issues I
Yeah.
think, and let's maybe move on to our final thoughts
Let's
here
go
as
ahead
we're
and do that.
wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Talking Scream 6. We're back talking Scream 6, talking the Scream franchise as we have been this whole time, but we're talking about the future of the Scream franchise in particular, what we're thinking about 7, maybe our hopes and dreams there. I was
Mhm.
just saying, I think the biggest issue this franchise is going to have going forward is not honoring the narrative stuff that they've set up, but continuing commenting on the horror, as Jacob's saying, where they've just spread themselves so thin and just don't really have much to say anymore.
Yeah, everything's kind of already been said. And when you've done the franchise has dipped in quality, that's what 5 was all about. It's like rejuvenating the franchise. So you've done that now. It's like, where do you even go? You know, there's only so many angles you can kind of do a Scream movie from, and it feels like they've covered them for the most part. So
For a franchise that literally has to look at those angles, Jacob, to go like, shit, you know, do we reference this? Do we reference that? What do we say about this? What's the parody to this? What's the comment on that? We set up top in our first segment. There isn't a legacy 7th film horror franchise to go, and of course we'll do exactly what that film sort of did to
Right.
land the
you already
plane.
did
It's like,
Jason Takes
no,
Manhattan.
yeah, you
Yeah.
You have to
you
do
can't
in
do
space
Jason
next.
X.
If anything,
The Carpenters
Well,
go to
he-
space.
If anything, I thought because of the New York angle, this would just be the when franchises jump the shark and say fuck it, and like so with the shrine and everything being kind of over the top and like little confusing. It's like if that's intentional, they've made something confusing. Well, but if it's not intentional, they've failed in their artistic expression, right? But it wants that energy of over the top, and I have to say for 7. I've seen this fake poster going around in space. No one can hear you. Scream.
Oh my!
Yeah. So maybe.
I would love
maybe.
it.
Yeah.
I think that's the main problem is that they want to make
Sam,
another
you're an
movie with this
astronaut.
cast.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you went to astronaut college in New York City. That's crazy.
Wow.
Remember when I said I was going to graduate and live my life earlier? What I meant was as an astronaut.
Sam, you said you needed
Oh.
some space. I didn't think you meant go to space. Yeah.
I said ghost face, not go to space.
This thing writes itself. Come on.
It really does. Cash the
Um,
check. Sign us up, Hollywood.
But I
And
think
it's
that's
Tara's dad.
Uh-huh.
yeah. I don't know. This is the
He's
problem.
the head of the
is that-
space program at NASA.
Yes. And Ghostface has one of those big bubble astronaut helmets
Oh,
on at one
great.
point. He's like stabbing at a
course.
suit in like a depressurized.
He depressurizes them on the
Yeah, it's
spacewalk.
great.
Yeah.
We're basically writing
You
the
need
film
to
Sunshine, we
decompress.
should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting off the rails.
Flash
But, no, but I
movie in
mean, that is
space,
kind
yeah.
of the problem is that
Yeah.
they want to make another movie with this cast
Yeah.
so they can make it a trilogy, but it really feels like it was a 2-movie story without without a third movie. But really, this movie felt like a conclusion to that story, so it would have to be, something like Tara's dad or something could work.
And Jacob, I think they truly have to go in the footsteps of 3 was about making a movie. I think the third one needs to be we sold our life story to Netflix.
It's
Yeah.
a true
It's
crime
like-
doc.
And it's
On the set of a Netflix shoot, Gail Weathers is consulting producer. Just
And
do
it's a
if you're going
true
to continue
crime streaming.
remaking the Scream franchise, that's where you have to go with 3/7, right? That makes a lot of sense.
well,
I-
the
I like
Stab
that.
movies, they're rebooting as a TV show. And you're like, they're rebooting it? Like, well, they're gonna call it Stab: The Carpenter series now because it's actually about these new characters.
Yes.
Do you know that there were more killings? And it's like, what?
Absolutely, yeah, because they're not doing
Yeah.
the Sidney Prescott stuff.
Yeah.
Past that now, the Carpenters, and maybe the director of this Netflix series is like Tara's dad or something, because the Carpenters, they're not.
Now we're
consulting.
just
And
now
the
it's
director
Weathers.
from 3, yeah, he was the
Yeah,
director.
now
of
we're
this
just
shit.
Weathers meets him and
Might as well.
doesn't know that it's Tara's dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Just something they can do maybe. But
Could be interesting, but yeah, having that be the framing device.
bring Cotton Weary back.
Yeah, space
Trap.
aside.
He dies in 3.
That's right.
No,
It's
he
the
doesn't,
opening
does he?
kill.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he's the opening
three.
kill.
Forget about Cotton Weary's illegitimate
right.
son, Cotton
Bring-
Weary Jr.
Oh,
Look, I think we can all agree. Bring
Okay.
the voice changer from 3 back.
yeah, always,
Yes.
always. Okay, so we have some ideas. I love the idea that everything's moving to streaming. That's what you do for 7. I think that's the most logical thing.
Yeah.
Involve the father. One, if you want to redo 3, 1 for 1, do it. But I like that idea, the Carpenter's story. Tara and they both killed multiple people now. In the name of survival. Great stuff. But I have a question. If I were to ask you guys to rank the 6 of these, what would your order be? Jacob first.
I've thought a lot
Sorry.
about this, so
I'm pulling up my
figured you were
letterbox
prepared.
while you say that, so you go right ahead.
I know exactly how I'm going to rank them already.
All right.
So I would say, if we're going by numbers, right? I would say 1,
Mm-hmm.
4,
Mm.
2, 5, 6, 3.
Wow.
1, 4, 2,
1,
5,
4,
6,
2,
3.
5, 6, 3.
Yeah.
All right, Colin.
That's good. Jacob, I really respect that list. I'll be honest with you.
It's almost falling into the Star Trek, like every other one or something. But
That's very true. Well, and I should say my favorite's the one with the whales.
yes,
Yes.
Brendan Fraser.
I'm very
Whales of
close
Pain?
to you. I'm going to give a huge explanation on why is one so high. So,
Okay.
or one of them so high.
Okay, yeah.
So, number 1, Scream. Number 2, Scream 4. Number 3, Scream 2. Number 4, Scream 3. Number 5, Scream. Number 6, Scream 6. So all the way at
Wow.
the bottom, unfortunately.
So
And
similar.
Scream
you just,
5,
I
I
just
should
have
say. as well.
3 behind.
I've got
the
3
two
higher.
newest ones.
So
Yeah.
here's why. I think all the stuff that's come out now where everybody accepts that 3 is the most bloodless because it's got the biggest Columbine fallout, that they were really like violence was not allowed in movies at the time.
Mm.
And the one killer thing that we talked about, and this new lens that everybody puts that film as being a Harvey Weinstein allegory, bumps that thing way up. And
Oh.
the Parker Posey performance, woo, we
It
are
was-
getting high up there, baby.
I gotta say, I was watching 4 earlier today, and it was very shocking when the credits came up and I saw produced by Harvey Weinstein and Bob Weinstein. I was like, oh,
Ooh.
that guy. Remember
Ooh,
him?
uh-oh, here we are.
Yeah.
To make that right in, yeah, no.
All right,
That's
Mike.
interesting. They were
3.
doing a Harvey Weinstein allegory in a movie that was produced by the Weinsteins.
The
He's not
third
reading the
film
scripts.
is about a producer of schlocky movies who locks women in his basement and rapes them. Think about that.
That's,
So,
that's
Mike.
why the director was born. He was the
Right.
child
right.
of that with Sydney's mother. It's
Unfortunately,
crazy. So he
I
wants
don't,
revenge
I don't
on
hate
that
3.
fucker.
Like I think all the Scream movies, I've enjoyed parts of them. So I think they're all at least decent horror movies. I think 3 is the worst, but it's also like the one that Kevin Williamson didn't write, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
Wes Craven
It's
came back, but
so
yeah.
watchable still. Mike, let's hear that list.
All right, man. I'm the guy who liked Halloween Ends, so here we go.
Buddy.
oh man.
Scream 1, 6, 4,
Wow.
5, 2, 3.
But
1,
hearing that
6
4 is in all of our top 3s, that's awesome to me. That's the win of this episode.
But they're separated by a razor's edge. Like 3, 4, 5. They're
so
like
6
so close.
is your second
Yeah.
favorite?
That's
I think
awesome.
it
All of
is.
them?
I think it's very.
Interesting.
Again, it has issues, but suspend disbelief. I enjoy the theming of Tara and Sam. Obviously, it's a simple
I
arc.
really like those characters.
We're not here, and now we're here. We're walking together into the sunset. Like, I like that arc. I like the third killer. I like just kind of how different it is. I like the ladder scenes, some of the sequences, the train scenes. Like, the sequences of horror are really good and really effective. So I think the craft is like never been better besides the first movie when it comes to 6, craft-wise.
Is it the only one that takes place on Halloween? I think that's really cool.
Yeah, as the throwback to the original influence of being a Halloween movie
Right.
about a mask and a knife. So
I
I don't
still
know. I
like,
like 6 a lot. I'm unapologetic.
Well, literally, the
think
character
4
says to Randy in the first one, "This sounds like the plot of Halloween," and he says, "Yeah, we know."
Yeah.
I still think 4 is my second favorite. It's
Yeah.
got, I think, the best like killer twist of the Sydney Prescott
And
of
when
that
she's
movie
just
being the
going
killer.
crazy in that living room.
Yeah, and her motive is the most interesting to me, where she's trying to she wants to remake the events, but have her be the victim and essentially framing it on her boyfriend that she kills. Um,
You
and
said it
it's
off pod, Jacob. Say
yeah,
this real quick on podcast. You said you think Jill Prescott is the best Ghostface.
yeah. Well, just she has the
Hmm.
most interesting like motive, not like physicality or whatever. I mean, they're all kind of the same.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stunt
They
No, I
all
get
get
you. I see
super
it.
powered. That Halloween
Yeah.
mask is
But I think she's the most interesting character that is revealed to be Ghostface, because I just find her motivation really interesting, in her being Sydney's cousin and everything. Like, yeah, I think that one really holds up as a commentary on remakes while also being a remake of Scream 1. And it's doing, like I said, similar to Scream 5. Like, I feel like those two are kind of companion pieces in talking about sequels and remakes and reboots and Lego sequels and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that one really holds up.
I love it.
It's interesting because it's kind of on an island. You have Scream 1, 2, and 3 are a cohesive thing, and then it feels like 4,
Yeah.
5, 6, and 7 will be a thing. It's just this
Right.
little
4 is just in the middle.
side story, but yeah, it has a really strong motivation with Jill Roberts, and again, I love her just going crazy and making the whole speech. I don't need, family, whatever. I need fans and
Yeah.
throwing herself through a table and just looking around the room. I guess that painting, and she'll just jump into it. Like that's
She's
so
even got
crazy.
her own Stu Macher and Charlie, where he thinks that they're going to be the two survivors, and she's like, actually, you're the Stu Macher of this story.
Yep. So
Yeah.
good. So yeah, 4 is great, and then the rest are pretty tight. But do you guys have a favorite? This is my last question for you guys. Do you have a favorite Ghostface kill in this franchise?
Mike,
not Drew
I was
Barrymore,
going
I
to
guess.
say my favorite kill. It's not a Ghostface kill. I was going to throw it to a bone to your 6 real quick and say the ending kill of Jack Champion with Kirby pushing the TV on his head, smiling and turning to the camera and saying, "I saw that in a movie. I saw that in a horror movie once."
Yeah.
She repeats the Stu Macher kill from the first film. It's incredible.
That is very cool. Yeah, in the franchise,
good.
anyone.
I
Yeah,
don't
that
know
was
if
very
it's
satisfying.
my 100% favorite, but one that comes to mind is just the opening of 2 with the movie theater, and then I think
Iconic.
it's Jada Pinkett Smith, is it, that
Yeah.
goes in the bathroom and
And
gets
Omar
killed?
Epps.
Yeah, like that's super iconic to me, like that whole opening scene. And I love, there's all the people wearing ghost face masks, and it's like the perfect disguise because they're watching a stab movie. And like after the original, just seeing that was just like, man, this franchise is pretty
Nice.
good.
I think I'll go with currently recency bias probably, but the latter scene over the alley. I think there's a sadistic nature to it. It reminds me of the dumbwaiter from H2O, which is my favorite, like Jason or Michael Myers kill. So anyway, I think this latter, but the Jenna Ortega opening scene is probably the best one since Drew Barrymore. She doesn't die, but there's a lot of good craft, and again, none of these are bad. So
no, I'm giving my final thoughts here to say real quick. I have all these movies on Blu-ray. I'm never going to stop watching them. So what? I didn't like 5 and 6. I have 5 on Blu-ray. I watch 5 all the time. And I watch the Jenna Ortega scene, and then I fast forward to some end scenes of Jenna Ortega, and I go, this movie's great. No, just kidding.
Yep.
I watch all of it because guess what? I fucking love Jack Quaid. I think he's like really good in that movie.
Tell me about it.
I think
Mike loves Jack Quaid.
Mickey Mason, I think her name is.
Mikey Madison.
Mikey Madison, thank you, Jacob, who plays
Amber.
Amber is like, she's like incredible in that movie. Like no matter what, these films are always so incredibly cast. They always look good, feel good. I always just love them. And we didn't talk about Nick Cave at all. Like just hearing the songs and stuff, man. Like this is a franchise that has imagery, iconography, echoic stuff that is just like the music jumps out to you. It's incredible. So
most consistent franchise.
Scream.
And it's I think you're absolutely right about that, because it's a franchise obviously that started as a sort of meta commentary on the horror genre, but now there's 6 installments, and you're right, like the baseline quality is so much better than any other horror franchise that has at least 6 installments that I can think of. Like there's never been a bad Scream movie, right? At best there's like a just okay Scream movies. So I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. Like as a franchise as a whole, like it's really, really strong and consistent from movie to movie.
And we're even seeing that some okay Scream movies, like you pointed out, the whole Weinstein allegory of making Scream 3, like as stuff comes to light and you look back, you're like, maybe I think this is mid as Scream, but it's still trying to do something. It's commenting on something, or 4 being ahead of its time. Like there's something of value in all of them.
Yeah.
So they're all like very solid, and that can't be said for other franchises, unless you're doing your thing, cuz.
We covered 6 Middle Earth films on this podcast.
Right.
How would those stack up against the Scream films? I would prefer to watch the Scream films in my.
If I had to watch
if I
all
had
6.
to watch all 6, yeah.
Agreed.
Plus you have to
I would watch all
The Rings
6
of
and
Power.
the TV series over
Yeah.
all 6 in the TV series.
That's a deadly cocktail, guys. I don't know.
Oh no.
The
Let's
Rings
just
of
watch
Power
Beast
versus
Wars
the
instead.
MTV
Ah,
series.
Oh, that's a long. That's a
Where
lot
does
of
it stack
content.
up with Transformers? It's better than Transformers, right?
That's how many Transformers films did we watch? Did we watch 6?
I think 5. There's been 5. I'm pulling it up.
5.
Because there's only 2 Wahlbergs,
5,
3
the
LaBeoufs.
animated movie,
Bumblebee
and
would
then
be 6.
Bumblebee
6 with
6.
Bumblebee. We're about to get a
About to have
7th,
7.
and we did the animated film, so that will be 8 Transformer films we've talked in total. Obviously, we've done Star Trek and stuff, but Jacob, you made the joke. I mean, there are
More
bad Star
consistent than
Trek.
Star Trek.
Yeah, the worst Scream movie would still be like a good movie in like the Halloween franchise or something out of all the movies,
Yeah.
Like it would be a top 5. But
If we got the Stab movie that had time travel, that one would be better than some of the Halloween movies.
the one directed by Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson.
I honestly, that's give me a How Catch 'Em, Ryan Johnson. We know who the killer is. That was
And
such
again,
a
I
good
think-
idea.
Yeah, and part of the consistency too is just that for the first 4 it was Wes Craven at the helm, and now it's these 2 guys that I'm not going to say their names because I can't remember them, but like you said, Radio Silence is their team name or whatever. But pretty solid up and coming horror directors, ready or not, good movie. So yeah, it's got at least people who know what they're doing at the helm, and I'll definitely see 7. Can't wait.
Yeah, honestly, we have nitpicks here and there. I think I'm highest on it out of all of us, but at the end of the day, it's a Scream movie. Highest Scream opening box office ever, so it's successful. And
That's crazy to me, but I guess it
Yeah.
makes sense with the way, theater trends have kind of gone, because movies now, the average blockbuster makes more now than it did in the 90s, right? But even if you
Well,
look at adjusted for inflation, but I think again, Scream 4 in 2011, criminally overlooked, I think, when it hit theaters.
Oh, Jacob,
Yeah.
I have
skipped
been
it for a long
seeing.
time.
I have been seeing Scream movies since 4. That was the first one I saw in theaters. I've seen 5, 6, and I'll hopefully see 7, God willing, in theaters as well. I
Right.
remember leaving Scream 4 and being like, what a nice thing that they let that old man make another. And what a shame I'll never see another Scream movie in my
And
life.
that was his last movie, R.I.P. Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
For
like I
Wes.
said, that was ahead of its
For
time
Wes, yeah.
for Wes, and I wish maybe that could have got a sequel if it did better. But I'm happy that they're now doing
can't even
well.
imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah, screw it. Just give us a spin-off Kirby streaming series where she's
Kirby,
solving murders,
FBI.
getting into the
Kirby
FBI.
driving
She's
around.
basically Silence of the Lambsing. Like she's in the
She's
academy.
Silence of the Lambs,
Yes,
like,
that would be amazing.
She's doing stuff, but when you go
Oh.
back, it's just Ghostface. It's never revealed like who she's talking to the whole time. It's just like Ghostface is giving her the clues and stuff. I'm like, this is
She
great.
has to visit Ghostface in prison, like he's like fucking Hannibal Lecter or something.
Do you
Yeah,
like
yeah.
scary movies, Kirby? Like,
I
Oh,
mean,
they let him
Hey,
have it.
Jill.
Hayden Panettiere can't be that busy, right?
Yeah.
So
well, she just
Book
got
it.
out of a stint in rehab. That's where she's been this
Oh.
whole time, by the way. She's doing a lot better now. We're very proud of her. Her brother did just die. God bless you, Hayden Panettiere.
Oh,
Shout out. We
sorry
love
to hear
seeing
that.
you back in the Scream
Yep.
franchise.
Yeah.
And yeah, best wishes. And everybody in this, they got a strong cast. Like you said, Core 4, we didn't say quickly.
Core 4.
They
Core 4.
Chad got the shit stabbed out of him. I don't know how he survived
can
twice
survive.
now in
And-
this. Yeah.
And again, just a little writing thing that bugs me a
Little
lot.
bit.
Mindy runs up saying, it was Ethan and it's Detective Bailey. And they go,
And Quinn.
Quinn was still alive. And she goes, I missed the final reveal again. Now,
Yeah.
the last time we were ever with her, she cleared Jack Champion. He's the
That's
one who
what
takes her to the
she's
hospital.
saying is that she messed up again, right?
Yeah.
I don't think she's
She guessed the
admitting
wrong
that. I think
person.
she literally runs up and says, I know who it is this time. And she just blurts both names out. If she does
Right.
say, I made a mistake, it's Ethan, then I would give her credit. But the last time we see her, she's like, it's not you, by the way. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then it like cuts her back. And she's like, it is him, by the way.
Yeah, she's just really bad at guessing who it
Yes.
is. Even though
And
she's
now
the
they've
movie
set up this
rules
thing
person.
where obviously for the next one, she's going to be in one of the final reveal moments, but then she'll get killed, I guess. I don't want Mindy to die, but like Jacob, I have this weird thing where I'm so parasocial or whatever, where I'm like, but they have to die.
One of the core four at
Someone
least
does,
has got to die.
yeah.
Chad or Mindy probably because
Play,
I don't think
place your
Chad or Sarah
bets. Place your bets now.
Chad's the
say-
Dewey. He's invincible.
Chad,
I
yeah.
mean,
But I think Chad killing Chad in the next one would be surprised because he got stabbed in the first two and didn't die.
think it's
Subverting our
Jenna.
expectations.
I think Tara dies.
Wow.
I mean, that would be
Her
huge.
career
That'd be a
trajectory is
bold
going to
move,
push her
but-
out of this bracket.
Well, I'm guessing
That I
that
could
this
also
next
see.
one would be the
Yeah.
last one with her in it anyway. So they might just be like, yeah, we'll kill you since you're obviously going to not come back. You're doing bigger and better things now. So
Yep. That's where
um,
I'd put my Vegas
makes a
money
lot
right
of
now.
sense.
Because
Yeah.
I would be shocked if she was on a 3-picture contract. After that first one, it would be like, yeah, and we're not going to need this character anymore. And then it's like, oh no.
Please.
Yeah, no,
Please
they
come
lucked
back.
out. And maybe in the next one, Nev Campbell, like they offer her more money this time, and she's like, "I'll come back."
Did you miss Sydney Prescott, Mike? What would her role have been in this if she was in it?
She would have been Kirby.
The same as 5, basically.
Joe,
Yeah,
she
I
would have
guess
served
She
that
would have come in
function.
like Kirby.
She would have been the
Yeah.
veteran
I like
helping.
having
She wouldn't be
Kirby
in the
come in.
FBI.
To connect
Yeah.
4 to the
Mike,
series.
we never cut back to Courtney Cox. We never see her in the hospital post stabbing or anything. Literally, she gets an intro scene. She gets hit. She gets a scene where she's like, "Oh, there's weird thing. You know, I found the Museum of Kills." And then they're like, "Well, you should go home." And she's like, "Okay, I will. I'll never see you guys again. Goodbye."
Right.
Well, it was getting more contrived to keep bringing Sydney, like even in 5 to
Yeah.
bring, like it didn't make a lot of sense.
It doesn't.
Whereas Gail,
it
she's
takes
still doing
half the movie too, as well. But yes,
Yeah, and Gail is still a reporter in Woodsboro, so it's a lot easier to write her in.
In 3, Sydney's barely in the movie because it takes them so long to get her to the movie set, if you recall. Like it takes,
Right.
it's.
The other
I
funny
don't
thing about this is that they move locations, but also Gail Weathers now just lives in New York City,
Yeah.
which is pretty
In
convenient.
5, we know she was on a morning show. It's probably filmed in New York City.
I guess.
That makes sense, I guess.
Anyway, you let us
They
know.
all
fans,
went to this
your plot
Blackmore
holes.
college together. It makes
Yeah.
no sense. They're like, you got in too? I'm studying
Yeah.
film.
Of course, you always go to college with your high school best friends. That always happens to everybody.
Well, my
right?
sister will move here too, and she'll live with us. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be
But-
great.
Yeah, pretty good movie, I think, and great franchise. Excited to see the next one. When
Love
comes
it. Love
out.
Scream.
Yeah,
Scream's the
we're,
best.
we're still talking about it. So we're going to go ahead and probably cut it there. But I appreciate everybody coming along on this journey for us, listeners. You know, let us know your favorite Scream movie. What did you think about 6? Was your theater experience good or bad? And
Oh my God.
geez.
So, Mike, they yelled out Detective Bailey did it?
The cop's the killer. That's what they yelled. When they
The
walked
didn't
in.
say
cops, the
cops,
killer.
Richie's dad, and also
He
the
didn't say
killer.
Richie's dad, so maybe he was just guessing.
It's a
and
very
he was right.
complicated
But maybe he
history.
just
He's
guessed
making a
because I
film.
suspected the cop.
Yeah,
From
he
the
didn't have
beginning.
time, but he did try to ruin it, whether it was a guess or not. But it was
Yeah.
a rude thing to do. So
Also in
piece of
5,
shit.
I did suspect Richie pretty early
100% the
on,
whole
so,
time. I have
I'm
guessed
pretty
the
good at
killer
guessing the
twice in a
killers.
row now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always getting it
not
wrong.
to take away from the movie, but
The red herrings get me, but I do like knowing in hindsight that the films still work. You know, there's another
Yeah.
layer knowing that they're pulling it off. But anyway,
Exactly.
I guess that'll do it for us.
what's your favorite Scream movie?
6. 6. All right, well, we've been your host.
All right, Normies.
You can do it.
This
We
is
we,
the end of
we
the
ha-
podcast.
we have been your host. This is the end of the podcast. This is your host, Colin Face.
No, Mikey Loomis. I'm from the first movie.
And this is Ghost Jake Killer.
Yo, Ghostface, get hit with a blast of a hype verse. I've done worse, leaving a hearse, dude. All right,
There you go.
he needs to be in one of these movies. Put him in 7, okay?
Buster
you later,
Rhymes was
Normies.
in a Halloween.
Hey,
Hey,
that's right.
Make a legacy sequel to Scary Movie called Scary Movie 2023 with Anna Faris's daughter in it, and that's a whole fucking thing, okay?
And the reveal is it's Ghostface Killer the whole time, but
Yes.
when they're in the costume, it's a completely different build. It's like a
Yes.
Wow.
different shaped human. Incredible. All
It's like a young
right.
child. Yeah.
Well, that's been us, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Don't get stabbed. Don't pick up the phone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.